I'm playing Marvel Legends. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26, Lost Everything. There were no fancy moves, and there were no gorgeous light and shadow effects. Marfa's movements were very simple. You hit me? No problem, I'll let you hit me. Not to mention that Marfa's 2-4 defense was just a tickle. Even if he used a sharp weapon to cut his skin, Marfa's healing skills didn't need to worry at all. But the problem was, after the fight, who could withstand Marfa's counterattack? Just kidding, Marfa's current strength was measured in tons, and even lifting a car was just a matter of gritting his teeth. This punch broke the hands of the thugs, the legs, and the chest and ribs. If Marfa hadn't saved some strength and didn't deliberately hit the head, I'm afraid these 5 thugs would have had their brains burst in a few hits. It only took a few breaths, yes, a few breaths. The Kingpin thugs, who had previously been in the upper hand and beat Pietro so hard that he could hardly breathe, were beaten by Marfa one by one, breaking their hands and feet, and they didn't even have the strength to stand up. The reason why he didn't kill him directly was mainly because killing in the United States was still very troublesome, even if it was in self-defense. Moreover, since the other party had the same tattoo, he obviously belonged to a certain organization. In the United States, how could an organization without some background survive? It was already taken down by the police, right? After all, even if you just want to eat a free meal, you have to pretend, right? Taxpayers' money is not so easy to take. Of course, having concerns is only one aspect. What Marfa cares most about is the scarred man's words of sending them to hell to meet their father. Without too much talk, Marfa walked directly in front of the scarred man, stepped on his palm, and then twisted his toes to keep exerting force. Tell me, what do you mean by sending us to hell to meet our father just now? Marfa's voice was cold and full of murderous aura, like a bloody soldier who had been fighting on the battlefield for many years and killed countless people. His footwork did not stop for a moment, and there was a tendency to crush the other party's hand into pulp. Marfa. The scene just now really scared Wanda and Pietro. Pietro is also a veteran in school fights. It's not uncommon to see nosebleeds and broken bones. But when students fight, how can Marfa beat a kid with one punch, breaking his hands and feet with every move? The most important thing is, look at what he is doing. Damn, the flesh on the scarred man's hand has been crushed by him. If it were anyone else, Wanda and Pietro would probably curse him as a beast in unison. But the person involved now is their younger brother, the nerd who holds books and test questions all day long. For the two of them, this is definitely a refreshing thing. Speak or not. Seeing that the other party was gritting his teeth and refused to speak, Marfa also gritted her teeth and stomped her feet, crushing his entire hand into minced meat. Oh. FUK. The scarred man shouted loudly, and then fainted from the pain. Damn it, you're pretending, right? After saying that, Marfa stepped directly on the scarred man's dick. Snap, snap. 2 crisp sounds rang out, just like the exploding eggs in the milk tea, which made people shudder. A thug next to him was so scared that he fainted. As a thug of the Jin Bin gang, he had seen all kinds of ruthless people. Chopping hands and feet and shooting heads were commonplace, but stepping on someone's balls just because of a disagreement, I fainted, no one wakes me up. FUKU. The scarred man was awakened by the pain again and screamed loudly. But it only lasted for 2 seconds, and he fainted again. The human body has a self-protection mechanism. Once it exceeds the tolerance range, the brain will automatically fall into coma to prevent it from collapsing directly due to being unable to bear it. Obviously, the scarred man has now reached the level of activating the self-protection mechanism. So, who should I ask now? You? Or you? Marfa looked at the people lying on the ground at his feet, as if he was looking at ants, and asked coldly without any emotion. It would have been better if he hadn't said this. Once he said this, everyone became more nervous, especially when they saw Marfa's soul still sticky with strange liquid. They felt a chill in their lower body and felt that they were finished. You still don't want to speak, right? So, let's play a game, and the last one to speak will have the same fate as him. After saying this, Marfa stomped his feet, and the meaning was self-evident. I say. Now it's good. The frightened people rushed to speak. At this point, Who cares about the gang rules of the Kingpin gang or Jack David's revenge? Anyway, let's coax this devil in front of us first. We received an order from the boss. A group of people went to XXX in the northern part of Brooklyn this morning and beat up a man named Django Maximoff. Then they used his cell phone to call his wife, knocked her unconscious and gave her to the boss for fun. And we came to guard you near Midtown High School and made sure to beat you all up. Yes, yes, yes. Several other people also echoed, fearing that they would be the last to speak and then lose everything. What? Beat up my dad and then capture my mom? Pietro's eyes immediately turned red when he heard it, and he was obviously on the verge of anger. Pa. Pietro was seen imitating Marfa and stepping on the man's palm with a lightning speed. Tell me, where did you capture my mom? Wait, Pietro. Marfa wanted to say something, but Pietro was no longer listening at this time. He just kept crushing the thug's palm, with some of Marfa's style just now. The screams of pain continued, attracting the attention of the people around, but no one came forward, obviously not wanting to get into trouble. And Flash, who was hiding in the corner of the street, was also frightened by the behavior of the two brothers. It's not that Flash hasn't seen ruthless people before. Even when bullying those students he doesn't like, the methods he uses are all outrageous. But it depends on the target. Now Marfa and his men are stepping on the ace thugs of the Kingpin gang, and they broke their hands and feet right away, and stepped on their balls. They are simply demons. For a moment, Flash no longer had the mind to continue revenge. Now all he had in his mind was how to ease the relationship with Marfa, and he could only hope that Marfa would not find out that it was Flash Thompson who instigated all this. At the same time, the disabled thugs who fell to the ground finally let go. If nothing unexpected happens, they should be in Hell's Kitchen. At this time, they were already scared out of their wits. These guys are just like brothers, with the same character. If this continues, won't the guy just now be, hiss? As if thinking of something extremely terrifying, the person who spoke suddenly felt a chill in his crotch, and his heart became more and more painful. Pietro, stop it. Seeing that the questions were almost finished, Marfa immediately stopped Pietro from continuing to question. Marfa, Before Pietro finished speaking, Marfa grabbed him. Believe me, we need to go home immediately. Mom and Dad will definitely not be taken away by them. If I'm not mistaken, they should be at home now. Even if they are not, they will leave us a message. Pietro wanted to say something, but Marfa pointed to Wanda, who was in tears, and signaled him not to continue. Obviously, what happened today was too horrifying for Wanda. First, she was intercepted by a group of thugs, and then she learned that her parents were killed. After all, Wanda is no longer the Scarlet Witch in the original story who could hold Thanos down even after her lover died. Now she is just an 18-year-old girl like any other girl. Chapter 27 The Three Little Ones Mutate. Knowing the whole story, Marfa is actually the one who feels most relieved. A few thugs set a trap to catch the Scarlet Witch? What a joke. As long as my mother wants, she can easily crush them even if she faces an army. The power of chaos is not just talk. According to Marfa's sporadic oral descriptions to friends who read comics in her previous life, this power is somewhat similar to the reality gem. If it is developed to the limit, it can even modify reality, create or erase life. That's right, it's not annihilation, it's erasure. It is to completely erase the traces of the existence of a person or a certain ethnic group from the world, leaving no trace at all. Rather than saying that Marfa is a cheater, Marfa thinks that the existence of the Scarlet Witch is simply a cheat itself. To exaggerate a little, it is not an exaggeration to say that she is the creator god in a certain sense. Even though Natalia's development of the power of chaos is very low, and she has not undergone systematic witchcraft learning like Agatha, she is definitely not something that a few mortals can resist. Therefore, Natalia has probably taken Django home now. Of course, the possibility of sending Django to the hospital or to the New York temple for treatment is not ruled out. Sure enough, when the three hurried home, Natalia was constantly casting spells on Django on the bed. Obviously, she hoped to use her magic to treat Django's injuries. Of course, the actual situation was thunder and rain. Although the whole room was filled with scarlet chaos power, Django's injuries did not improve at all. Even because of Natalia's desperate medical treatment, Django was already dying at this time. It's a pity that she could hold on for so long. Looking at the majestic chaos power around her, Marfa couldn't help but murmured secretly. Although the power of chaos can rewrite reality, It is obvious that Natalia's control level and cognition of the power of chaos could not do it at all. A huge invasion of magic power is detected, and the host's body may undergo unknown mutations. Do you want to guide the magic power? The host can choose to open the second profession, magician, or use the magic power to enhance the Taoist skill template. Hearing the system prompt in his ear, Marfa was stunned. Open the second profession? This is to practice both magic and Taoism. For a moment, Marfa's heart became eager. After all, the legendary magician is the profession with the strongest output ability among the three professions. Lightning, Ice Roar, Hell Lightning, Magic Shield, Holy Word. Each skill has an extraordinary meaning. But soon, Marfa's fiery mood calmed down. No, I can't choose the magician profession. Legend is different from other online games. When the character is upgraded, the attribute improvement brought by the level increase is actually very small. The main source of attributes is still equipment. If I choose the magician profession as my second profession, how will I wear my equipment in the future? Taoist outfit? Mage outfit? Or half Taoist and half mage? I'm afraid this will only make myself look weird. Even if the system has a one-click change of clothes in the future, how should I choose to strengthen weapons in the later stage? Marfa doesn't think he has so many resources to buy 2 sets of top-quality ones for his own use. I choose to enhance the Taoist skill template. Marfa muttered in his heart. As soon as the voice fell, with Marfa as the center, the chaotic power within a 1-meter radius around him began to flow into his body frantically. And Marfa's skill panel also underwent new changes. The legendary skill bar is fixed, and only proficiency and level are displayed on it. However, after the skill level reaches level 3, a new option appears in the enhanced skill bar, Advanced. Concentrating his mental power on the advanced option, a huge yin-yang fish immediately appeared in Marfa's mind. After the skill level reaches level 3, the host can strengthen and transform the skill itself by adding special materials to the fish eyes of the yin-yang fish. Skill level reaches level 3? Special materials? Marfa couldn't help but get excited when he heard the system's prompt. All skills of legend can be upgraded to level 3 on the panel at most, which means that after level 3, it is extremely difficult to make further breakthroughs. In Marfa's impression, it seems that only summoning skills can break through the shackles of level 3 in disguise by killing monsters. However, now, the injection of chaos power has undoubtedly greatly improved Marfa's potential and created endless possibilities for it. Unlike Marfa, Pietro and Wanda at this time are also like Marfa, beginning to be eroded by the surrounding chaos power. In the original plot, Monica, the daughter of Captain Marvel's bestie, mutated under the erosion of chaos magic, and finally became a superhero spectrum with the strength of Captain Marvel. Of course, Monica's situation is just an exception. After all, once most people are eroded by chaos magic, the final result will only be annihilation. However, Marfa, Wanda, and Pietro are not on the category of most people. As the offspring of Natalia, at the genetic level, the three of them were born with a certain affinity for chaos magic. In addition to erosion, the greater role of chaos magic in the three of them was to awaken their potential. At this moment, Pietro's body had begun to change. In the scarlet energy, the azure blue emitted by Pietro seemed particularly abrupt at this moment. Gradually, Pietro's body began to vibrate at a high frequency, making all the glass around him seem to be attacked by an ultrasonic beam, and shattered one by one under the power of resonance. Obviously, at this moment, Quicksilver was born. Unlike Quicksilver, Wanda was frantically absorbing the surrounding chaos magic at this moment. The chaos power around her was like a cyclone, constantly accelerating and rotating with Wanda as the center. As Pietro and Marfa completed their awakening one after another, the chaos power without interference had no other outlets, and it rushed to Wanda. When Natalia came back to her senses from exhaustion, Wanda had already absorbed most of the chaos magic in the house. However, things did not stop there. The next second, Natalia felt that the chaos source power that had accompanied her for many years seemed to have a tendency to break out of her body at this moment. Even Natalia's spell on Django was interrupted because of this. What's going on? Natalia's face changed immediately. The Scarlet Witch was affected by the rules of the world. Generally, there would only be one Scarlet Witch in the same dimension. This was why Natalia was not worried about Agatha absorbing her chaos magic before, because as long as she was not dead, even if Agatha absorbed her chaos magic, she could not really control it. At most, She would just use a part of the magic to convert and strengthen her own magic. Without the hidden attribute of the chaos power to modify reality, it would not cause much harm at all. But now it's different. Natalia has a feeling that the power of chaos that has accompanied her for many years has abandoned her, and its new owner is her daughter, Wanda Maximoff. For a moment, Natalia didn't know whether she should be happy or worried. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28 Sunwater. Ling. Congratulations to the host for successfully deflecting the MCU plot. The host is rewarded with 300 minutes of game time. Please keep up the good work. When the three people's bodies were completely stable, the system prompt sounded again in Marfa's ears. Here it comes again with good news. Hearing the game time reward, Marfa's eyes suddenly flashed with a golden light. What could be more exciting than this? Game time means strength, means money, and the legendary game is the root of Marfa's everything, including the safety of his family. At first, Marfa didn't think how precious this game time was, until he saved his family from Agatha with the help of the return scroll, until he solved the family's economic crisis with a gold mine dug out of the beach mine, until he easily asked the information he wanted from those thugs. If it weren't for the legendary game system, Marfa couldn't imagine the consequences. Mom, what's going on? How is Dad? Ignoring the changes in herself, Wanda, who reacted, asked first. Obviously, Natalia was still in shock. After all, the chaos magic that had accompanied her for decades was now completely absorbed by Wanda. This shocked her no less than hearing that her husband was crippled. Mom. Seeing that Natalia was still in a daze, Pietro also asked hurriedly. Oh. I received a call this morning saying that Django was beaten and asked me to pick him up at Brooklyn Bridge Park immediately. I didn't tell you because I was afraid you would worry. I didn't expect that when I went there. I found that it was a trap, with more than a dozen people guarding it. And Django was beaten to death. Natalia didn't elaborate on her experience in the morning, but Marfa could imagine the scene at that time. Obviously, the fate of those dozen people must be more miserable than the 6 she met. Maybe they were annihilated on the spot by the furious Natalia. Marfa, do you still have the medicine you used to save me last time? As if she had thought of something, Natalia immediately rushed to Marfa's side and looked at Marfa with hope. Obviously, Natalia was talking about the 10,000 years snowfrost. But Marfa shook her head helplessly. What a joke. The high-end goods like 10,000 years snowfrost are not always available in the Biki City store. Maybe there are some stocks in Mengzhong province, but definitely not many. It was definitely a stroke of luck to be able to buy the 10,000 years snowfrost at the time. After all, in terms of blood recovery alone, it is a holy product second only to the Acorn series of drugs. Seeing Marfa shaking his head, Natalia's face fell instantly. She had personally experienced the effect of the 10,000 years snowfrost. It was definitely a magical medicine that could bring the dead back to life. At the time, when she lost a lot of her vitality, the 10,000 years snowfrost could save her. Natalia believed that as long as she gave Django one, Django would definitely be able to recover as before. But I still have 2 bottles with slightly worse effects. I think if it's just Dad's current injury, it shouldn't be a problem. As he said that, Marfa was like a magic trick, and 2 glass bottles filled with light golden potions instantly appeared in his palm. Sun water, HP, plus 30, MP, plus 40, there was no way. This was already the most advanced potion in the bulk products that could be bought in the pharmacy in Beach City. Despite this, the special effects of the sun water with a light golden light still attracted everyone's attention. Marfa, what are you doing? Magic. Wanda widened her eyes and looked at her nerdy little brother in disbelief. Today, Marfa repeatedly refreshed her worldview. First, he easily singled out 5 thugs, and then used extremely bloody and violent means to ask the thugs about the whereabouts of his parents. Now he can even conjure 2 bottles of such beautiful potions out of thin air. Marfa didn't want to explain too much to Wanda's surprise. Who doesn't have a little secret? Didn't you see that Natalia has kept her identity as a witch secret for more than 10 years? Marfa walked up to Django and poured the light golden potion in the glass bottle into Django's mouth. Then, he cast a healing spell on Django. In an instant, A blue-green ball of light suddenly appeared above Django's head and kept spinning around him. Points of light poured down from the ball of light and merged into Django's skin. The next second, Django's injuries quickly subsided at a speed visible to the naked eye. But in a moment, Django's breathing became as strong as usual. Marfa, this is magic. Seeing Marfa cast a spell with his own eyes, Pietro was naturally shocked and immediately walked up to ask. But he seemed to be unable to master the ability he had just acquired. With a flash of afterimage, Pietro had already hit the wall head first. Oh. Fuk. Pietro was obviously hit hard, and he fell to the ground. He tried to get up several times but fell down again. He looked like a drunkard. Greek letter epsilon equals, Greek letter omicron, Alice. Marfa sighed deeply, stupid onazen. He cast a healing spell on Pietro and stopped looking at this unreliable brother. So what if Pietro became Quicksilver? He was still a fool. Mom. Dad's injury is fine. He may be too frightened. I'm afraid he needs to sleep for a while. After all, his mental strength is not as strong as yours. Should we talk about revenge next? Marfa looked at her mother expectantly. To be honest, Marfa really wanted to see her mother get angry. When fighting Agatha a few days ago, for various reasons, Marfa only saw Natalia being beaten, which was really a pity for Marfa. Ahem. Speaking of revenge, Natalia even showed an embarrassed look. Actually, when you just came in, I almost used all my strength to stabilize Django's injuries. After all, my magic is not good at healing. You also saw what happened later. Almost all the magic was absorbed by Wanda, so I am no longer a witch now. Natalia said, looking at Wanda on the side with an apologetic look. Obviously, deep in Natalia's heart, chaos magic is not a good thing. This thing made her suffer too much in her childhood. She doesn't want her children to have the same experience as herself. But now it seems that first it was Marfa, and just now it was Pietro, and Wanda must have inherited the title of Scarlet Witch. In this way, it seems that her 3 children have been involved in the circle of superpowers. Thinking of this, Natalia's mood couldn't help but be depressed. Marfa has been steady since childhood, so Natalia is not worried. But Pietro has always been a jumpy child. As for Wanda, as a woman, she can better understand the pain of a girl being rejected and looked down upon by a group of people. She hugged the 3 children in her arms. No matter when, no matter what you become, you are my children, my most beloved children. As for revenge, I think it's better to forget it. Those who injured Django have all been crushed to ashes by me. If you continue to investigate, you will inevitably push yourself into the mud. The United States is not as simple as you think. Natalia said meaningfully. Obviously she was worried that her 3 children would be noticed by SHIELD or SWORD. She would be fine, but Natalia definitely didn't want her children to become tools of the US government. After all, the story of Hulk has spread throughout the circle of superpowers. Even now, the US military led by General Ross is still eyeing Hulk. Natalia is afraid that the 3 children will not know how to restrain themselves and eventually cause trouble. Chapter 29, Tour Society. Time flies, and soon a week has passed. The Maximoff family lived an unusually peaceful life, but the entire United States, whether it was the government or the underworld, was in chaos. Tony Stark had been missing for almost 2 weeks. During this period, Stark Industries temporarily stopped supplying weapons to the US military on the grounds that the CEO was absent, in order to threaten the US government to increase its manpower investment in finding Tony Stark. As the largest arms supplier to the US military, is it okay to suddenly go on strike? What? Penalty? Sorry, this needs to be discussed with Tony Stark, the CEO of Stark Industries. No one can make the decision until he comes back. As a result, the US military can only keep putting pressure on the US government to speed up the process of finding people. The US government naturally handed over this difficult and arduous task to the CIA, FBI and SHIELD. 2 weeks ago, if someone's disappearance would lead to military and political unrest in the United States, I'm afraid no one would believe it. However, now no one can underestimate Tony Stark's power anymore. As for the underworld forces, the Kingpin gang lost dozens of gold medal thugs at once. Jack John naturally couldn't hide it. He had no choice but to report it layer by layer and pray for God's blessing. Fortunately, the security measures in Brooklyn Bridge Park were in place. In a remote corner, a camera quietly captured the whole process of Natalia's strong killing of more than a dozen thugs. The Kingpin gang, which had absolute control over the underground forces in the United States, soon got a video. For a time, the entire Kingpin gang fell into panic. Kingpin, whose original name was Wilson Fisk, was born in the second generation of the underworld. With his meticulous mind, extraordinary wisdom and extraordinary means, he unified the American gang forces in just a few decades and became the recognized underworld emperor in the United States. His power has spread to almost all countries in the world, and he is unrivaled at the moment. The most terrifying thing is that Jin Bing also attaches great importance to personal strength. Every day he arranges dozens of world-class fighters to train with him, and the result of the battle is often that Jin Bing can easily defeat these so-called gold medal fighters with 1 against 10. At first glance, many people would think that Jin Bing is just a tall fat man, but those who have really fought with him know that what is hidden under his bloated skin is not the fat that everyone thinks, but extremely strong muscles. So far, no one has been his one-on-one opponent. However, today, this famous underworld emperor is not as high-spirited as usual. The surveillance video of Natalia using magic that is constantly playing in front of him can be said to have refreshed Jin Bing's understanding of this world. With just one move, the scarlet energy gushed out of the extremely angry Natalia's body like a torrent. In an instant, flowers, cement, metal fences, including the dozen thugs, were all turned into powder. Its power is no less than the weapons of mass destruction sold by Stark Industries. Kingpin was jealous. If he could control this power, what else could he not regret? However, just as this ideal was born, Nick Fury called Kingpin's mobile phone directly. No one knew what the two talked about, but from Kingpin's gloomy face when he hung up the phone, it can be seen that his wish was shattered. The woman named Natalia was not someone he could own and control. Since he was so powerful, Kingpin had to give some face to SHIELD, a special organization under the Security Council. In the end, he could only sigh. It seemed that it was impossible to use force, but if the other party voluntarily joined his side, it would be another story. Kingpin kept calculating the pros and cons in his mind. Boss. At this moment, Jack David walked into Kingpin's office and saw his boss watching the video that scared him so much that he almost didn't sleep for a week. He couldn't help but tremble and almost fell to the ground. You know, with Jack David's level, he is not qualified to see Kingpin normally. Kingpin has countless subordinates like him. It has almost become Jack's obsession to see Kingpin, the legendary underworld king. But he didn't expect that the first time he was summoned by Kingpin would be in this situation. Are you here? Sit down. Kingpin said in a low voice, his eyes still fixed on the monitor in front of him, and pointed to the seat not far away, motioning Jack to sit down. Plop. At this point, Jack knew that he had caused a big disaster for the organization. He immediately bent his legs and knelt on the ground. Boss, I was wrong. I shouldn't have been greedy for small profits and caused such a mess. Please give me a way out. After saying that, Jack immediately began to kowtow to Kingpin. Bang! 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 Again and again, the dull kowtow sound echoed in the office, and the scene seemed a little sad. You should deal with the trouble you caused yourself. If you can't satisfy their family, you can find a place to bury your whole family. Jin Bing's tone was still very calm, but what he said made Jack shudder unconsciously. If things don't go well, the whole family will be buried in the crematorium. Jin Bing's words were not a joke. Jack could think that if he really messed up, he would kill his whole family and then commit suicide, which would definitely be the best choice. Otherwise, Jin Bing would definitely torture his whole family to death with cruel means 1,000 times and 10,000 times. Thank you, boss. Thank you, boss. Although he was extremely scared, Jack still thanked him repeatedly, as if Jin Bing had given him a great favor. At this time, Flush, who had been hiding at home for 3 days on the pretext of sick leave, did not know that Jack John, whom he relied on, would become his nightmare for the next few days. Campus life is always so short and beautiful. Unknowingly, the day's class is coming to an end. Students, be quiet. The professor of the natural science class on the podium waved his hand to signal everyone to be quiet. Next, I have something to announce. The study tour that our Midtown High School applied for to Columbia University's Natural Science Exhibition Institute has been approved. Our grade 11 class and grade 3 class are honored to be the first to go for the study tour. Unfortunately, Flash Thompson is still on sick leave, so I'm afraid there will be no such opportunity. So, is there anyone else who wants to take a leave? The professor joked, causing the students to burst into laughter. Although Midtown High School has always been using Western-style education, advocating the concept of learning and practice in parallel, and the simultaneous development of quality and culture, there are not many opportunities to visit and study at a world-class university research institute. How could anyone refuse? Hey, Marfa, didn't Thompson insist on coming to school in a wheelchair a few days ago? Why did he suddenly take a sick leave again? Toby, who was sitting behind Marfa, poked Marfa's back with a pen and whispered. Who knows? Maybe he's guilty. Marfa's words were full of meaning. According to the fact that Flash suddenly asked for leave these days and the previous basketball game, it was easy to connect him with the two groups of thugs. Although he promised Natalia that this matter would end here and he would not seek revenge, as long as he did not use his superpowers, it would not be a big problem to toss Flash. Now Marfa is not really worried about the problem of Flash. After all, it is unreasonable for a tiger to be so fussy about an ant. For a tiger, killing an ant is just a piece of cake. What Marfa is most concerned about is the study tour at the Institute of Natural Science and Technology of Columbia University that the professor on the podium just mentioned. If I remember correctly, the first generation of Spider-Man seemed to have mutated during the activities of the Columbia University Study Tour Society. If he operates well, maybe. As long as he thinks of the special task issued by the system, Marfa's heart is hot. Chapter 30 Time Variance Administration. Here, Marfa was still thinking about how to complete a special mission, while the Time Variance Administration on the other side was sounding the alarm. The Time Variance Administration, referred to as TVA, is an agency that is independent of all parallel universes. On the surface, it is committed to supervising, adjusting, and ultimately balancing a large number of timelines in the multiverse with infinite variables. In fact, there is an unknown conspiracy behind the scenes. According to the widely circulated saying within the Time Administration, there are countless parallel universes in the entire universe, which are entangled in fighting with each other, causing chaos in the order of the universe. In the end, the three gods took action to integrate all the parallel universes, and finally set a sacred timeline, and used it as the benchmark as the main universe. Everything in every corner of the entire universe, under the sacred timeline, is like a set script, repeating day after day. However, there are always some emergencies that will cause the actors in the script to deviate from the script for some reason. This will cause new branches to appear on the sacred timeline. If it is allowed to develop, it will eventually become an independent parallel universe. The function of TVA is to kill and reset these branches when they are just sprouting to maintain the order of the universe. As a senior judge of TVA, Ravna was looking at the screen in front of her with a frown. On the electronic display, the originally smooth straight line now had a thick branch line and several thin branches. They were connected to each other and attached to the main line, just like a small tree growing on a big tree, which was extremely strange. What worried Ravna the most was that the small tree was still growing thicker and longer at a speed visible to the naked eye. Mobius, why is this happening? Even the illegal behavior of the time criminals could not have such a huge impact on the sacred timeline in an instant. Even this timeline has its own branch line. This is simply. It's like a brand new sacred timeline. As one of Ravna's most trusted TVA detectives, Mobius, like Ravna, has worked in the Time Variance Administration for countless years. However, they have never encountered a situation like this before. I think this should be a harder bone to chew than Loki. The executive officer at the side also explained his thoughts at the right time. Mobius, no matter what, we must find this time offender and reset this timeline, otherwise it will definitely have an immeasurable impact on the sacred timeline. Ravna frowned and said solemnly. Don't worry, I will start investigating now. Mobius patted Losriel on the shoulder and said. As a member of TVA who was unaware of the inside story, Mobius regarded it as his mission to ensure the script of any sacred timeline. And those actors who caused the performance to not be executed according to the script were time offenders. In Mobius's view, there was only one way for them to end up, that is, they would be completely cut out. Immediately, Mobius began to investigate the root cause of the timeline error through the time and space monitoring instrument, but Marfa, the culprit, was completely unaware of this. In his previous life, Marfa traveled through time not long after watching Avengers 4. He had not even seen Spider-Man, Far From Home, let alone the new TVA settings that were released later. Therefore, the target that Marfa was most worried about at this time was the Guardian of the Multiverse, the Supreme Sorcerer, Ancient One. The asymmetry of information directly led to Marfa being in crisis at this time without knowing it. On the other side, Flash Thompson finally ushered in his nightmare. In a small single-family house in Manhattan, Thompson was lying on the ground, begging for mercy. His wide eyes and trembling body seemed unable to suppress the fear in his heart. Just now, a group of fully armed thugs broke into his house with various guns, machetes, and batons. Servants, housekeepers, maids, except for Flash Thompson and his father who was away on a business trip, all the living lives in the villa were cruelly beheaded with a rusty blunt knife. Looking at the originally magnificent living room, which was now like a purgatory on Earth, Flash felt like he was having a nightmare. If it weren't for the pain from his foot injury, constantly reminding him of the reality of everything, Flash would have slapped himself to wake him up. "Brother, if you have something to say, let's talk, whatever you want, just ask. As long as I have it, as long as you want it." Flash's voice was trembling, for fear that if he said a wrong word, he would follow the footsteps of the pile of corpses around him. Pa. As soon as Flash's voice fell, a big slap was directly slapped on his face. "Asshole, you still have the nerve to say that? What is the background of the Maximov family? Have you investigated it clearly? Just let me call you brother." This time, dozens of brothers died at once, and the matter was directly reported to the ears of the Kingpin boss. "Do you think you can just give some money and get away with it like before?" As he spoke, Jack David felt very angry. If it weren't for the scumbag in front of him, why would he fall to this point now? Thinking of this, Jack couldn't help but kick Flash's bandaged leg hard again. Flash's pig-like screams rang out again, and the heart-wrenching pain made him sweat profusely on his head. What sin had he committed? Didn't he just steal his limelight? Why did he have to pick on Marfa? If there was a regret pill to take, Flash would definitely shout, "Give me a pound." You know, the background behind this man killed dozens of members of the Kingpin gang in one breath, and even so, the Kingpin gang didn't dare to do anything to him. What kind of power is the Kingpin gang? The more he imagined it, the more fearful Flash felt. Think about his own Thompson family, which is also well known in New York, but in front of the Kingpin gang, it's not even a fart. But now that the Kingpin gang has been killed, it seems that they are still afraid of each other. What kind of power is behind Marfa? If it were in the past, once he kicked the iron plate, Flash would definitely resent Marfa and then try every way to pit the other party. But this time he had no such idea at all. The gap in power was too great, which made Flash start to think about how he would lick Marfa if he could survive in Jack's hands this time. In a small apartment in the northern part of Brooklyn, Marfa lay quietly on the bed, ready to start the next legendary world journey. Next, he will go to Columbia University Graduate School with Toby. This means that as long as the operation is done properly, Toby will become the world's first Spider-Man. Unlike before, this action can be said to have created a brand new superhero in the MCU, a superhero that should not exist in the MCU. Even the system has issued a special task for this, which is enough to show how huge this move is to the plot of the MCU. In other words, even if the task rewards are not counted, it will definitely bring Marfa a lot of game points. As the saying goes, high returns mean high risks. The New York Temple of Kamartaj is only about 10 minutes away from his home. If it is said that the Ancient One did not notice this, Marfa would not believe it. As long as he thought of this big man who could make Thanos and Asgard god King Odin afraid, Marfa felt uneasy. God knows how the other party will view this heretic. The only solution now is to improve my strength, even if it can only be improved a little, it will give me a little more confidence. As for sending Ancient One home like I did with Agatha, Marfa has never considered such a thing. What a joke, Ancient One can teleport, right? Can my teleportation scroll compare to the other party's teleportation portal? Chapter 31, Entering the Bicky Mine Again. Before entering the game, Marfa had already thought about it. The main goal this time was to level up, and the location was the Bicky Mine where Marfa had mined before. The reason for skipping the Orc Tomb was mainly due to many factors. First, although the Orc Tomb can drop equipment that can be worn at this stage, as low-level mass-produced equipment, the drops of the Orc Tomb can almost all be bought in the store. In this way, the value of the Orc Tomb is greatly reduced. Secondly, the experience provided by the various skeletons in the Orc Tomb is really limited, which is obviously not enough for Marfa, who urgently needs to upgrade to improve his career system at this stage. The most important thing is that compared to the shallow mines without electric zombies, the Orc Tomb has axe-throwing skeletons. Marfa doesn't want to be accidentally hung with a big axe. Even if this game is almost painless. God knows how the axe of the axe-throwing skeleton will exist in this world. If it is a physical existence that can be brought to the real world, then when I go back, I will still have axes stuck in my body, which is very creepy. Familiar stone chamber, familiar passage. When the light reappeared in front of me, Marfa had already appeared in the Bicky mine cave. After all, it was here that he was forced to log off before. Without saying a word, Marfa immediately took out a return scroll from the package and went directly back to Bicky City. After successfully retrieving the potions and random teleportation scrolls that he had stored before from the warehouse keeper and storing the black iron ore, Marfa went to the weapon store without stopping. There are still a lot of iron ore, copper ore and silver ore in Marfa's backpack. It is obviously not appropriate to upgrade with these things, so he sold them all to the blacksmith shop owner. Then, he bought a lot of potions with the gold coins obtained from selling the ore. After all, zombies can be regarded as a leapfrog monster for Marfa now. If he does not rely on potions, the efficiency of killing monsters is really touching. Sharpening the knife does not delay the chopping of wood. Marfa does not want to come back for supplies after killing half of the monsters. After spending precious 10 minutes, finally, everything was ready. Random teleportation scroll. Whoosh. Vomit. Whoosh. Vomit. Dot. Fuck your uncle's random teleportation scroll. After vomiting more than 10 times in a row, Marfa finally arrived at the bitch mine with a pale face. Marfa was simply powerless to complain about the fact that random teleportation would make people car dizzy. Marfa especially wanted to know how the weak little body of the mage could withstand the instantaneous movement. Could it be that every mage had to carry a plastic bag with him? Without thinking too much about these things, time was tight and the card was as valuable as gold. Marfa stepped into the dark cave embedded at the foot of the mountain without saying a word. Unlike the previous time, the cave seemed to be a little brighter this time, and I didn't know where the light came from. But the occasional gusts of cold wind made Marfa shiver unconsciously. Alice, I really can't adapt to this kind of mysterious monster. Marfa murmured in his heart. In his previous life, Marfa was very courageous. Roller coasters, pirate ships, etc. No matter how exciting the amusement rides were, they were bland and tasteless to Marfa. The only thing that was taboo for Marfa was the haunted house. And darkness was exactly what Marfa feared the most. Duo. Trying to control his emotions, Marfa walked quickly into the passage with light steps. Just as he was about to turn the corner, he heard a series of creepy sounds. Marfa frowned. He leaned over and looked into the depths. He saw that 5 zombies were actually gathered together as if they were having a meeting. Unlike the zombie in a cassock that he had encountered before, these 5 zombies were so ugly that they were simply unscrupulous. There were countless burnt black spots on the rotten flesh all over the body, as if it had just been burned by flames. The unpleasant stench entered Marfa's nose, which was even more smelly than the pork with worms. The most important thing is that these zombies are holding a few pieces of white things in their hands and chewing them, and the white pulp in their mouths is still dripping. Looking closely, what else can it be but cave maggots? Ugh. For a moment, Marfa felt that his stomach was as uncomfortable as a churning sea. Ebony sword, thank you for your hard work. After killing the monsters this time, I will definitely find a feng shui treasure land to bury you. He silently said in his heart. Marfa immediately picked up a small stone from the wall of the mine and threw it at the nearest zombie. As if he realized that he was offended, the zombie immediately roared. Then, he subconsciously looked behind him. Just when Marfa was eager to kill this zombie, he saw that the zombie turned around again and continued to chew the cave maggots in his hand. Marfa. Could it be that I, a living person, am not as delicious as cave maggots? At this moment, Marfa couldn't help but doubt himself. Or maybe the zombie's sight distance is very short? Compared with the former, Marfa was more willing to believe his latter speculation. 1 step, 2 steps. In order to confirm his guess, Marfa quietly approached the zombie closest to him, holding the stone in his hand tightly, and then prepared to attack 10 meters, 9 meters, 8 meters. Suddenly, the zombie seemed to have noticed something, turned around suddenly, stared at Marfa with a pair of red eyes, and began to roar. Then, he was seen moving towards Marfa's position step by step and with his slow steps. Marfa, no wonder the mage can easily kill zombies with kites. It turns out that this thing has short legs. He complained again in his heart, And when the zombie got close, Marfa no longer hesitated, and immediately picked up the ebony sword and chopped at the zombie's head. 4, -6, -6, -6, -6, 6, 6, -6, -6, -8, -6, 8. The zombie's 155 horsepower quickly dropped rapidly under Marfa's series of violent storm-like attacks. In a short while, it fell to the ground with an unwilling roar. Experience plus 160. This zombie is so useless, not as good as the zombie wearing a cassock before. Marfa was originally quite afraid of this kind of monster that jumped over the level, and even prepared a batch of potions for this purpose. Unexpectedly, this zombie was so useless that Marfa knelt down without even using the healing spell. Huh? Wait? What is this? Marfa, who had sharp eyes, quickly discovered the abnormality under the zombie, and immediately kicked the zombie's body away and picked up the fallen items. Devil's Necklace durability. 4/8, attack. 2-0, magic. 0-1, +1, required level. 17. Marfa, should I be happy or sad? Judging from the attributes in the brackets, this is obviously a small top-grade necklace, which adds 0 to 1 extra magic compared to the ordinary devil necklace. But the problem is, the devil necklace is a warrior's equipment. It originally adds attack power. What do you mean by adding 1 point of magic for no reason? Alice. Holding this embarrassing necklace in his hand, Marfa didn't know what to do for a moment. However, at this moment, a hand suddenly grabbed Marfa's ankle. 8 fuck. Marfa was so frightened by the sudden move that he dodged and stepped back repeatedly, retreating a full 5 meters away before stopping. Is this okay? P.S. Adjust the update time. Starting tomorrow, the first update will be around 3 p.m., the second update will be around 7 p.m., and if there is an additional update, it will be around 8 p.m. Please give me gifts and urge me to update. Chapter 32, Most of Captain America. Marfa almost forgot that this type of scorched corpse zombie has the ability to resurrect. Unlike other types of zombies, this type of scorched corpse zombie has a chance to resurrect as long as a character approaches its corpse after being killed. After resurrection, the health and experience points provided are half of the original. Good guy, I was scared. Seeing the zombie slowly standing up again not far away, Marfa couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. I almost thought it was some supernatural event. After solving the scorched corpse without any danger, Marfa decisively avoided its corpse this time and started to attract monsters from the other side in the same way. 4 hours and 15 minutes later. Boom. With a burst of special effects golden light steaming up from Marfa's body, the familiar warm current once again permeated Marfa's whole body. Finally, level 13. Marfa whispered in his heart. There are 45 minutes left. Marfa plans to keep 30 minutes for emergency and spend another 15 minutes to go back to the city to sort out the equipment. As the saying goes, sharpening the knife does not delay chopping wood. The ebony sword was not going to be used. It was now covered with a lot of red, green, and white liquids, and even a few pieces of meat stuck on the broken blade. If Marfa continued to use it, it would be disgusting. The potion was also consumed in the previous battle. In order to continue to travel in the real world, it was necessary to replenish the potion in time. The return scroll was used up. The store did not sell this thing in bulk, so he could only rely on luck. Marfa was also forced to take out a stack of Hell Escape scrolls from his backpack. The Hell Escape scroll is somewhat similar to the random teleport scroll. Both can be used for random teleportation. The difference is that if you use the random teleport scroll in a cave or palace, the place where you appear again is still in the palace or cave, while the Hell Escape scroll can teleport outside the cave. If there is no return scroll, the Hell Escape scroll is obviously Marfa's best choice now. Ugh. Judging from the amount of vomiting, it is obvious that the experience of the Hell Escape scroll is not better than that of the random teleport scroll. Fortunately, Marfa returned to Biki City smoothly. Character, Marfa. Occupation, Taoist. Level 13, Defense. 5-5, Magic Defense. 2-5, Attack. 3-12, Taoist Magic. 1 and 3, Physical Value, Blood. 75-75, Magic Value, Blue. 59/59, Skills, Healing Level 2, Mental Combat Level 2, Equipment, Dagger, Light Armor, Male, Large Bracelet 2, Glass Ring 2, Yellow Crystal Necklace. Dagger, durability. 10/10, attack. 3-11, required level. 10, light armor, male, durability. 8/8, defense. 3-3, magic defense. 1-2, required level. 11, yellow crystal necklace, durability. 8/8, Taoism. 1 and 0, required level. 13, after putting on new weapons and new clothes, Marfa felt refreshed, his waist and back were no longer sore, his legs and feet were no longer cramped, and he could go up to the 5th floor in one breath. Ahem, in short, his strength has been greatly improved. In terms of strength alone, I'm afraid he's almost catching up with half of Captain America, but what Marfa cares about most is defense. The defense brought by the light armor almost doubled Marfa's defense again. Nowadays, it is almost impossible for ordinary sharp weapons to cut Marfa's skin. It's getting harder and harder to level up now. I relied on the support of potions and fought monsters for more than 4 hours without stopping, but I barely got 3 levels of experience. It's conceivable how slowly I will improve in the future. It seems that I have to think of other ways to improve my strength. Otherwise, if I only rely on the legendary game system, the more experience points I need to upgrade in the later stages, the more difficult it will be for me to improve my strength. Whispering, Marfa immediately exited the game world. Tomorrow is the Columbia University Tour Society. I hope everything goes well. For the first mission issued by the system, especially the unknown mission reward, Marfa is particularly looking forward to it at this moment. At the same time, in an alley in New York, a door appeared out of thin air in the depths of the alley. Mobius, this is it. 10 fully armed soldiers followed a man in a casual suit out of the door. One of the soldiers took out the space-time energy detector and began to report the situation. "Boss, are we going to arrest the time criminal directly?" a soldier asked. "No, don't alert the enemy. We don't have even a little intelligence about the enemy. If we act rashly, we might all die here. In short, we should find the person first, then collect intelligence, and when the time is right, we will take him down in one go. We must not give him a chance to escape." Mobius looked solemn. As a middle-level manager of the Time Mutation Administration, he has lived for millions of years. However, this is the first time he has encountered such a special situation in this time and space. He cannot afford not to be extra careful. So, a group of 11 people sneaked out of the alley with guns. "You." "Yes, I'm calling you." "What are you doing?" At this moment, a police car suddenly stopped not far from Mobius and others. Then, 2 policemen got out of the car quickly, immediately raised their pistols and pointed them at Mobius. It was obvious that they were regarded as illegal armed elements. In the United States, legal citizens do have the right to bear arms, but the control of bullets is still very strict. As for someone like Mobius, who was so openly leading a group of armed men and wandering the streets in the middle of the night, it was relatively rare. Officer, don't shoot. We are from the Real CS Club. We just came out of the club." The brothers felt that they were not satisfied. Isn't this a joke? As an old man of the Time Management Bureau, Mobius had obviously seen a lot of such situations. He immediately explained, and his hands slowly raised above his head, as if to show that he was not in danger. "George Stacy, the chief of the Queen's Police Department. You'd better not move, otherwise I can't guarantee that my gun won't go off accidentally," a police officer said. "Of course," Mobius said with a harmless smile. But the next second, his hands suddenly aimed at George Stacy and his companions. Then, 2 light green rays shot out from the launch device on his fingertips and directly hit the 2 policemen holding guns. Time confinement rays. The bodies of the 2 policemen were immediately fixed in place, unable to move at all. "Mr. Officer, I hope you have a good night." Mobius walked up and patted George Stacy on the shoulder, and with a slight smile on his face, he led the team to the direction of Brooklyn. In another corner of New York, Flash Thompson finally sent away the group of death-seeking devils from the Kingpin gang. From now on, he must get busy. Jack David only gave him 1 day, and within 1 day, Flash Thompson must gain the friendship of the Maximov family. Otherwise, the Thompson family will be greeted by the anger of the Kingpin gang. In order to save his family and his own life, Flash no longer cares about money. After making more than a dozen consecutive calls and spending more than $10 million, Flash finally breathed a sigh of relief. "Marfa Maximov. Don't let me find your weakness, After arranging all this, Flash threw his phone to the ground unwillingly, as if only in this way could he slightly calm his resentment at the moment. Chapter 33, Luxury Falls from the Sky. The next morning, Marfa, Wanda and Pietro got up early. Because today would be a very special day. The three of them were very lucky to be selected to participate in the Columbia University Graduate School Tour. It could be a coincidence or some kind of arrangement. Anyway, Wanda was very happy for this matter. Ding dong. The doorbell rang, and Natalia, who was preparing to make breakfast, put down her work and went to open the door. Who could it be so early? Could it be S.H.I.E.L.D. or the FBI who came to cause trouble because of the previous incident? Natalia wondered in her heart, and then she opened the door with a vigilant look. Today is different from the past. Without the magic of chaos, Natalia has put down the big stone in her heart, but she instinctively lost the sense of security she used to have. Hello, beautiful Madame Maximov. Standing at the door was a well-dressed man, wearing a white shirt and gloves, a bow tie at the collar, shiny leather shoes, and a slightly exaggerated tuxedo, all of which were luxury goods that Natalia was very familiar with, but could not name. Who are you? Seeing that the visitor did not seem to have any ill intentions, Natalia's hanging heart was also relieved. The man bowed again in a standard way, and then took out a bunch of flowers that had been prepared long ago from behind, and handed them to Natalia respectfully. I am a food delivery manager at the New York Palace. You can call me Dragon Armor. I am very sorry to disturb your pleasant morning. Please allow me to serve you a hearty breakfast. I hope you can enjoy this wonderful day. After saying that, Dragon Armor immediately took 2 steps back and then lightly snapped his fingers. Snap. The sound was crisp, but like a starting gun, a group of people immediately walked out from behind him. But they were all wearing uniforms, holding dozens of plates of different sizes. Although the plates were not big, they were covered with the gold or silver lids. What are you doing? Natalia was a little confused, obviously not knowing what these people were doing. She just subconsciously stepped back a few steps to make way for them. Natalia had heard of the New York Palace, one of the most luxurious hotels in New York. Even in the world, it can be ranked in the top 100. Natalia never dreamed that she would have anything to do with such a hotel. Professionals must be professional in their work, let alone the waiters of top hotels like the New York Palace. From tidying up the tables and chairs to arranging the plates, the movements were smooth and seamless, and Natalia, who was standing by, couldn't react for a long time. Dear, this is. Django was obviously also attracted by the movement in the living room, and immediately walked out of the room to check the situation. However, when he saw these dozens of neatly dressed and nimble people preparing breakfast for his family, he was also shocked. He was just a small clerk in an antique grocery store. How could he enjoy such an imperial treatment? Dear Mr. Maximov, I'm sorry to bother you. I am the food delivery manager of the New York Palace, Extra A. Extra A saw Django and immediately went through a set of standard procedures. While arranging Django and Natalia to sit down, Extra B, the manager of the room management department, also arrived at the scene with 5 or 6 people. The same standard self-introduction process was followed again, and then he immediately arranged for his men to start cleaning up the sanitation outside the restaurant. Mom and Dad, what are you doing? Wanda, Marfa and Pietro had just walked out of the room and were obviously frightened by the scene in front of them. Maybe, probably, possibly, it's the delivery man. Did any one of you order takeout? Django answered in confusion. Marfa. Wanda. Pietro. The breakfast was extremely rich, with truffle croissants, lobster salad, caviar thick omelette, king crab sticks, emperor crab steaks, 5A grade Wagyu beef, milk, champagne, a dazzling array of everything. Dad, you call this takeout? Pietro opened his eyes wide and looked at Django sitting at the dining table in disbelief. Sit down and eat. No matter who it is, since they prepared these for us, we can't waste them, right? I want to see what the other party wants to do. Marfa sat down with a nonchalant look on his face, took a bowl of unknown soup and started drinking. After being promoted to level 13, his strength was greatly improved again, and he was much more confident at the moment. When the enemy comes, the general will stop it, and when the water comes, the earth will cover it. Marfa had already guessed in his heart that there were only 3 possibilities for the person who arranged these things. First, the Kingpin gang. They had injured Django before and attacked him and others, but were killed by Natalia in a gorgeous way. The other party obviously saw Natalia's ability and wanted to win her over. Second, the official forces of the United States, or special departments, such as SHIELD. Natalia, who has strategic weapons, is obviously also their target. Third, the American Rebel forces. You know, as a capitalist country, the Rebel forces in the United States have a lot of political say. Simply put, every president must have the support of one or more big chaebols behind him. And the president really represents the interests of this group of people. Typical Tony Stark, in the plot of Captain America 3, he used the influence of Stark Industries to make Wanda and other people who did not sign the Sokovia Accords at first not be coerced by governments. Otherwise, how could it be solved by house arrest? In capitalist countries, having money means you can do whatever you want, which is also one of the main reasons why Marfa has always liked China. After enjoying a hearty breakfast, Django sat in a Rolls-Royce and went to work. To be honest, Django was full of doubts about today's abnormality. Too many things have happened recently. First, the house in Sokovia was destroyed, then the whole family fled to New York, then he was attacked, and then this morning, his injuries were inexplicably healed, and finally this breakfast and the car under him. Django was getting more and more confused, especially his wife and children. Whenever he asked about them, they were vague, as if he had become an outsider. Thinking secretly in his heart, Django also made up his mind to figure it all out. It seems that I have to confront Natalia tonight. I can't put all the pressure on her alone. No matter what happens, I am the boss of this family, and I am also a part of this family. Even if I can't do anything, I am willing to share everything with them. At the same time, accompanied by the roar of sports cars that resounded throughout the street, 3 Ferraris also stopped at the gate of Midtown High School. 3 attendants who had been waiting for a long time immediately trotted forward and opened the car door. Although Midtown High School is a public school, the students are mainly from the middle and lower classes. Rich kids like Flash or Harry Osborn in the original book are extremely rare. Because of this, these 3 Ferraris, which are obviously expensive at first glance, are particularly eye-catching. In a short while, a large group of students gathered around, wanting to see the people in the car. "Wanda, Pietro, we may become famous this time," Marfa said with a twitch of her mouth. Then, the 3 of them each walked towards the school gate with an entourage. You, Marfa. Toby, who had been waiting at the school gate for a long time, was also shocked by what he saw. Isn't Marfa's family background similar to his? How? On the other side, Natalia at home was staring at a check for $10 million. Who is it? Chapter 34 Gwen vs. Mary Jane. Students, first of all, we have to thank the 3 Maximov students. Because of their sponsorship, our study tour is not only free of charge, but everyone will receive a travel souvenir package. It includes a 5-star hotel accommodation voucher, 2 buffet vouchers, a box of Durex. Ahem. Mediterranean teacher flipped through the exquisite small gift box in her hand and introduced the contents of the gift package to the students on the bus. However, when she saw the last small box, her face turned red and she forced it back. Okay, that's the end of the introduction of the souvenir package. I hope the students will take care of their health and stop when they are satisfied. This study tour is jointly participated by a first-year class and a third-year class. I hope you can get along well. Finally, each student needs to submit a study tour report after the event. We will organize several school professors to evaluate the content of the report. The top 3 students will receive a reward of $50,000. Of course, this is also sponsored by the 3 Maximov students. Let's applaud them together. After that, Mediterranean teacher took the lead in making a noise. After all, he was still worried about the cost of the study tour. For such unified activities organized by the school, students usually pay half of the cost themselves and the school subsidizes the other half. However, public schools have limited funds, and the part of the cost subsidized by the school usually needs to be sponsored by the tutor. This sponsorship signed by Wanda, Marfa and Pietro obviously completely solved the troubles of the Mediterranean teacher. Midtown High School is not far from Columbia University's graduate school. Even with the terrible traffic in New York, it only takes about 1 hour. Students, this is Columbia University's graduate school. I sincerely hope that there will be a place for you here in the future. Then, enjoy your wonderful study tour time," said the Mediterranean teacher. At this time, Tobey Maguire finally couldn't hold back his doubts and put his arm around Marfa's shoulders. "Marfa, Tell me the truth, what's going on? I don't believe you won the lottery all of a sudden. Haha, Toby, to be honest, I don't believe it either. Maybe some rich woman took a fancy to me and wanted to support me? After all, I am so handsome and unrestrained. Ugh, before Marfa finished speaking, Toby pretended to be about to vomit. Toby was very grateful for the friendship from Marfa. Students like him who were used to being bullied knew how precious this friendship was. Because of this, Toby, who was reserved and introverted, could only joke so unscrupulously in front of Marfa. Marfa. Not far away, Wanda kept waving at Marfa. Immediately, Marfa pulled Toby and wanted to go over. But Toby pushed Marfa's hand away. He just pouted slightly to the other side. Well, Marfa, you go do your thing. Following Toby's sight, I saw Mary Jane walking towards the research institute with several female classmates, laughing and joking. Her golden curly hair, like big waves, fluttered in the gentle breeze, looking particularly beautiful. Tisk, bastard, you have no humanity when it comes to the opposite sex. Go away, go away. Marfa was also amused by this shy boy, and immediately pushed Toby towards Mary Jane. Hey, beauties, please help me take care of this shy baby. Marfa shouted hello in the direction of Mary Jane. Immediately, the surrounding girls were excited. Look, Marfa just looked at me. He's so handsome, I really want to use the commemorative gift bag with him. Go to hell, Marfa was just saying hello to me. I'm going to give birth to a baby for him tonight. You stinky girl, don't you look at yourself? You've already turned black, right? You? Are you worthy of our Marfa? No, I have to get closer to Toby first. He's close to Marfa, so the closer you are, the better. You guys don't know anything. Soon Toby was surrounded by a group of beautiful women. Looking at Mary Jane who was looking at him strangely not far away, Toby really wanted to find a piece of tape to seal Marfa's mouth. Fuck you, you treat women like a stranger, but you're not ambiguous about dragging me into the water. Complaining like this in his heart, Toby honestly showed a bright smile on his face. After all, before he met Marfa, he had never been as popular as he is now. Hey, who touched me just now? Let's talk it out, I'm not that kind of person. Not far away, seeing Toby jumping into the fire pit, Marfa was very proud in her heart, and immediately turned around and ran to Wanda. You kid, forget your loyalty for the sake of beauty, be more careful. If you don't have a woman in your heart, you will be a god when you draw your sword. Women will only hinder your progress. Before he finished speaking, Marfa was stunned. I saw a very pretty girl next to Wanda looking at me with a smile on her face. Light golden long hair like a waterfall, eyes like sapphires, slightly tilted, a nose with a slightly arrogant look, and a smile as calm as jasmine. For a moment, Marfa was a little stunned. Marfa, what are you in a daze about? Behind him, Pietro suddenly patted Marfa's shoulder, and then looked in the direction of Marfa's sight. After seeing that it was her classmate Gwen Stacy, she smiled as if she understood. Tisk tisk tisk. Spring is here, flowers are blooming, everything is reviving, it's the mating season for animals, the air is filled with the smell of hormones. Pietro's teasing obviously earned Marfa a pair of white eyes. Gwen Stacy's face immediately flushed after hearing all this. Unlike most American girls, Gwen Stacy, as the child of the police chief, has been taught and disciplined by her father since she was a child. This makes her not as free and open as other girls of the same age. Her introverted, reserved, generous and self-disciplined personality is closer to the Oriental aesthetic. Of course, such a uniqueness coupled with the attributes of a top student also makes her somewhat out of tune with other classmates. On the contrary, Wanda Maximoff, who just transferred to the school, has the closest relationship with her. Let me introduce you. This is the beauty of our class, Gwen Stacy. This is my brother, Marfa Maximoff. Seeing that the atmosphere was a little awkward, Wanda immediately changed the topic and introduced the two. In her heart, she silently gave Gwen the identity of a sister-in-law. Her nerdy brother finally came to his senses. Among the three brothers and sisters, Pietro was a real straight man. Although he looked good, his brain was full of muscles. When he was in Sokovia, there was a scandal that he asked his followers to go on dates for him. Wanda said that she was powerless to do anything about her careless brother. As a girl, Wanda herself was a very sensitive person. Even the smallest things would be buried deep in her heart. Although she had had several boyfriends, they all broke up because they couldn't stand her personality. Only the third child of the Maximoff family, Marfa Maximoff, was still a nerd who had never had close contact with any women except her family. Now, seeing Marfa finally come to her senses, Wanda was also happy from the bottom of her heart. However, the four of them did not notice that, not far away, another man's eyes were also on Gwen. Especially when he saw Gwen and Marfa chatting happily, a hint of loneliness appeared in his eyes. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelists. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35 Super Spider. The one-day tour passed quickly. At night, lying alone on the bed of a 5-star hotel, Marfa couldn't help but frown. During the day, when visiting the Columbia University Institute, Marfa did see the 15 super spiders in the glass container. They are a special variety bred from the genes of a spider with extremely strong jumping ability, a spider that spits out spider silk as strong as steel cables, and a spider that can predict danger. It is compatible with the characteristics of 3 spiders and has strong adaptability. Since this is the product of biological experiments, its gene fragments themselves have unstable characteristics. The explanations of the tour guide are exactly the same as the fragments of the first-generation Spider-Man in Marfa's memory. However, Marfa observed Tobey Maguire for a whole day, but did not find that he was bitten by a super spider, and no super spider escaped from the glass container. The birth of Spider-Man is different from the super soldier serum of Captain America. It itself is unexpected and accidental, and in principle cannot be copied and imitated. Otherwise, in the original book, there is no reason for the US official to fight against the super soldier serum and the Hulk serum, but not pay attention to the spider serum. After all, if we simply calculate strength and agility, Spider-Man's ability is far superior to Captain America's. Marfa guessed that it was very likely because there was some accidental factor in the fusion of Spider's DNA and Peter Parker's DNA. If we refer to the setting of The Amazing Spider-Man, perhaps Spider's DNA is only suitable for certain people. And Peter Parker is undoubtedly one of these lucky ones. If you just pull someone to let the super spider bite you, you can imagine that the other person will either be poisoned to death or collapse at the genetic level due to the failure of gene fusion, and the final result will only be death. However, his classmates Tobey Maguire and Wanda's classmate Andrew Garfield and even Gwen Stacy who met today are another case. These 3 people are Spider-Man in a parallel universe. In other words, they all have the potential to become Spider-Man, especially Tobey Maguire. The Columbia University Institute is obviously the plot of the movie version of Spider-Man. However, today he passed by the super spider that changed his fate. Marfa guessed blindly that this might be the result of the influence of some invisible force. Because the orthodox Spider-Man of the MCU is Peter Parker, Dutch brother, who is in elementary school at this time, the super spider of the Columbia University Institute will not slip out of the glass container and bite Tobey Maguire, thus giving birth to another Spider-Man in advance. After thinking again and again, Marfa immediately made a decision in his heart. Since Tobey can't become Spider-Man if he lets it go, then he will forcibly reverse this ending. Thinking of this, Marfa immediately got up from the bed, took a bottle of mineral water and walked out of the hotel. The main research direction of the Columbia University Institute is biology, so except for special circumstances, only individual researchers will be arranged to be on duty, unlike China, who works overtime day and night. Marfa, who had explored the terrain during the day, relied on the assistance of telekinesis and powerful strength to easily enter the institute from the toilet window on the 5th floor. Does Columbia University have so much research funding? Why don't they turn off the lights at night? He quietly peeked out from the crack of the toilet door. The corridor was not as dark as Marfa had thought. Instead, it was brightly lit, and there were even a few security guards patrolling up and down the stairs. What should he do now? Marfa felt a little melancholy. If it was pitch black, he might be able to use the cover of night to run to the spider exhibition hall on the 3rd floor and get a super spider. But now it was bright outside, and the security and surveillance cameras were all working normally. This was very troublesome. If he just went out like this, it was inevitable that he would be photographed by the camera. How would he explain it then? Did he drop something? Damn it, if I were level 20 now, with the invisibility skill, I wouldn't have this kind of trouble. Duh. Just as Marfa was anxious, a crisp sound of footsteps came from outside the toilet door. Really? The boss asked us to patrol at night. It's like there's some treasure here. A security guard said in a deep voice. You idiot, you know nothing. I heard that the insect department has recently developed a new species of super spider, called arachne. It's very precious, and 2 researchers are arranged to take care of it day and night. If you have the guts to steal it and sell it, you probably won't have to worry about your next life. A new species of super spider? It's incredible. I seem to have heard a big secret. No wonder the researcher who introduced the super spider to me and my group today looked at the super spider with a hint of disdain in his eyes. I think the research value of the super spider named arachne at the genetic level should be higher than that of the 15 super spiders. Marfa thought secretly in his heart. For a while, he even had the idea of letting this arachne bite Toby. Fortunately, this idea was just born and Marfa gave it up. Arachne is the focus of the entire institute and a key protected object. You can imagine how strict the protection measures around it are. If I want to take arachne away silently, the difficulty will increase exponentially. Of course, this is still secondary. The most important thing is that Marfa knows nothing about arachne. How strong is this guy's toxicity? Is his gene as unstable as those 15 super spiders? Can Toby's body withstand the erosion of arachne's genes? After fusing arachne's genes, will Toby become a monster? Even if I take a step back, my mission is to make Toby become Spider-Man. So if Toby really fuses arachne, will he become Spider-Man like the plot of Spider-Man 1, instead of becoming a spider spirit or something? There are too many uncertain factors. If the mission fails, not only will I be tossing in vain, but I may also ruin Toby's life. The risks and benefits of this deal are obviously asymmetrical. Squeak. The door of the toilet was opened. At the moment when the 2 security guards walked into the toilet, Marfa, who had been waiting for a long time, immediately gave each of them a knife and knocked them out. Very good, it's a coincidence. If you 2 idiots hadn't come, maybe I would have gone to waste tonight. After saying that, Marfa immediately changed into the clothes of one of the security guards, disguised as a security guard, and walked out of the toilet. With the identity of a security guard as a cover, Marfa easily came to the spider exhibition area that he visited during the day. There are 15 super spiders in total. Which one is the one that bit Peter Parker in the movie? Looking at these spiders in the glass container in front of him, Marfa was in trouble again. Fortunately, Marfa soon recalled some details. The super spider that bit Peter Parker in the movie seemed to be red and blue, which is also the source of the color of the spider suit later. In this way, the 13 super spiders with the wrong color can be ruled out. Are there 2 left? Forget it, pack these 2. At worst, they will bite Toby. With my healing skills and potions as a backup, he shouldn't die. Chapter 36 Toby's Determination. Back to the bathroom on the 5th floor, Marfa took off the security uniform and threw it on the ground. After thinking for a moment, he stripped the other security guard naked with a bad taste, and put the 2 of them in a sleeping position in each other's arms. Then he jumped out of the window on the 5th floor with a smile on his face. To be honest, the 2 security guards made a great effort to steal the super spider so smoothly this time. In addition, the birth of the new generation of super spider arachne diverted the researchers' attention, which made Marfa so relaxed. Back to the hotel. Knock, knock, knock. Marfa knocked on Tobey Maguire's door. The latter crawled out of the bed and walked to the door very reluctantly. Who? Tobey asked, wondering in his heart, who would be so bad-tempered to knock on his door in the middle of the night. Marfa. Marfa outside the door casually put the mineral water bottle containing the super spider into his trouser pocket and answered. Creaky. The door was opened. Tobey didn't say anything. He turned around and walked towards his bed, as if he wanted to return to his own bed as soon as possible. When he lay down on the bed again and covered himself with a quilt, he looked at Marfa with confused eyes. It's the middle of the night. Why don't you sleep well and come to my place? I tell you, I don't have that kind of fetish. Unfortunately, I do. After saying that, Marfa immediately showed a look of hunger and thirst, rubbing her hands, and walked towards Tobey. Emma. Are you serious? At this moment, Tobey seemed to be a cat whose tail was stepped on. He jumped up from the bed in an instant, wrapped in the quilt and retreated directly to the corner. At this time, he was no longer sleepy. He just looked at Marfa with a vigilant face, fearing that the other party would be wolfish. Tisk, just a joke. You? Maybe only Mary Jane would be interested in you. Marfa looked disdainful, faded the expression of bad taste just now, and sat directly on the sofa in the guest room. Huh? Hearing this, Toby couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, but then he thought that he was indeed worrying too much. After spending a few days with Marfa, Toby thought that he still had some understanding of Marfa. It was unreasonable for him to be gay since he was so popular with girls. In fact, it was not Toby's fault for thinking too much. In the United States, there were many such things, and boys had to protect themselves when they were alone outside. Subconsciously wrapping himself tightly in the quilt, Toby also sat on the sofa opposite Marfa. "Did you see all this?" Toby asked meaningfully. "I'm not blind. Look at the way you looked at Mary Jane during the day, as if you wanted to eat her up in one bite." Marfa mocked. Keep your voice down." After his thoughts were revealed, Toby immediately looked around like a child who had done something wrong, fearing that others would hear him. "You have to keep it a secret. It's not what you think." Yes, I know. You are pure. As for keeping it a secret, do you think others can see it? I can tell you that Mary Jane is Flash Thompson's girlfriend. As your friend, I advise you to turn back," Marfa said casually, but her right hand quietly went into her trouser pocket and took out a mineral water bottle containing the super spider. "I know this, but Flash is just a bully. He is just playing with Mary Jane's feelings," Toby argued. "But he has money and a good family background. And you are just a coward who dares not even confess. You." Toby stood up immediately after hearing this, pointing at Marfa with one hand. It was obvious that Marfa's words just hurt his heart. But this posture only lasted for a moment, and Toby sat back again. "Okay, I'm a coward. But believe me, Mary Jane is not the kind of person you said. She is dignified, beautiful, intellectual." As Toby spoke, he became more and more inferior. "Alice." Looking at Toby in front of him, Marfa shook his head. Like the first-generation Spider-Man in the original book, Toby's character is really shy and cowardly. If he hadn't become Spider-Man later and received Ben Parker's teaching at the cost of his life, it is not difficult to imagine that the first-generation Spider-Man would only become a coward who was indistinguishable from the crowd and bullied until old. "Don't you want to win the favor of Mary Jane?" "I have a way," Marfa said seriously. "What?" "You have a way." Toby stood up and walked to Marfa in 2 steps, looking a little excited. However, the next scene shocked Toby. I saw an empty mineral water bottle just floating in front of him. Toby couldn't believe his eyes. He thought he was still dreaming because he hadn't woken up yet. Toby pinched himself hard and cried out in pain. "What's going on?" "Marfa." Fearing that Marfa was teasing him, Toby immediately waved his hands up and down in the mineral water, hoping to touch an invisible filament. Nothing happened. "You can think of me as a person with superpowers. Of course, my brother Pietro and sister Wanda are the same as me. It's just that our abilities are different." Hearing this, Toby took 2 steps back and looked at Marfa with a complex look of fear, envy, and admiration. "No wonder you can accidentally kick Flush's leg off. You also did something in that basketball game, right?" Toby was very smart. In just a moment, he connected everything that had happened before. "Wait, you just said you could help me win Mary Jane's favor, could it be?" In an instant, Toby reacted suddenly, and then looked at Marfa expectantly, hoping to get the answer he wanted in his heart from her. "Yes, I can make you the same as me." After getting Marfa's answer, Toby immediately became energetic. He turned around, took out a bottle of coffee from somewhere, and handed it to Marfa with a servile look. "Come on, sit down, drink and talk." Puff. Toby's appearance really amused Marfa. "I didn't expect Spider-Man to act like this. No wonder the Dutch version of Peter Parker in the MCU would lick Tony Stark like that. This should be Spider-Man's hidden attribute. Take a good look at this mineral water bottle in front of you. What's different about it?" Marfa took the coffee handed over by Toby, twisted the bottle cap and took a sip and said, "Different." Toby looked carefully at the empty bottle in front of him. Soon, he saw the 2 spiders weaving a web in the bottle. "Yes, these are the 2 little guys. You should have seen them during the day. They are 2 of the 15 super spiders in the Columbia University Research Institute. As long as you let them bite you, you will most likely become like me, different. Of course, with me here, you don't have to worry about side effects such as poisoning and death. At most, it will be ineffective. How about it? For your goddess, do you want to try it?" At this moment, Marfa was like a pyramid scheme member, constantly tempting the naive spider baby. The guest room fell into silence for a while. After a long time, Toby gritted his teeth and fought for Mary Jane. Chapter 37 Mission completed. In a sewer in New York. Toby, are you ready? Marfa asked solemnly. I'm ready, but Marfa, are you sure we want to do it here? To be honest, I don't like this, it smells bad. Marfa's choice to let Spider-Man be born in the sewer was also a well-thought-out decision. Marfa guessed that Natalia's use of chaos magic in Brooklyn Bridge Park had attracted the attention of certain people or forces. Otherwise, the luxurious breakfast and special car pickup could not be explained. Now he had no way of knowing which super spider bit Peter Parker in the original plot, so he brought two of the same color. This means that Toby will face double the spider venom. If the other party can't bear it, Marfa will inevitably need to use healing and other means to force him to survive the gene fusion stage. If this incident attracts the attention of someone with ulterior motives, it will be difficult to explain. Moreover, Marfa didn't know whether the so-called Skynet system of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the plot of Captain America 2 has currently covered New York. At this stage, Marfa has not decided whether to have any disputes with S.H.I.E.L.D., and the possibility that the sewer is a blind spot for S.H.I.E.L.D.'s monitoring is relatively high. I don't think S.H.I.E.L.D. will install monitoring equipment in the sewer. What's more, the origins of these two super spiders are not clean, and Marfa doesn't want anyone to find out the reason why Toby became Spider-Man. Especially after learning about the existence of Arachne, Marfa felt a little uneasy. In the end, he decided to conduct this experiment in the sewer. Persistence, only those who endure hardships can become superior people. Marfa said. ULSP, I haven't thought about becoming Mary Jane's superior person. Toby argued hurriedly. Marfa, damn foreigner, I didn't pay attention to the essence of the Chinese language, and I still said that I was an LSP, which is really enough. Besides, you, Toby, are willing to take the risk of human experiments in order to win Mary Jane's favor. Don't you want to become her superior person? A hypocritical guy who says one thing but means another. He secretly complained in his heart, and then, without hesitation, he released the two super spiders and placed them on Toby's wrists. Puff, puff. The two super spiders seemed to have not eaten for a long time. After seeing Toby's white and tender fresh meat, they immediately bit it. In an instant, two streams of milky white venom immediately flowed along the fangs of the two super spiders and shot into Toby's body. It happened in a flash. With Toby's scream of pain resounding throughout the sewer, Toby subconsciously shook off the two super spiders clinging to his wrists. Marfa was quick-witted and immediately activated the telekinesis of the mental force combat method and crushed the two super spiders to death. It's better to kill this dangerous thing, otherwise it will be bad if it turns out to be a group of ninja turtles that can spin silk. Although Marfa hopes to mess up the world as much as possible to earn game points for herself, she does not want such uncontrollable things to happen. With a double venom entering his body, Toby's whole body softened immediately. The human body's self-defense mechanism was forcibly activated. At this moment, the white blood cells in Toby's body also increased rapidly, trying to devour these foreign milky white invaders. Such a big reaction? Remember in the Spider-Man plot, after being bitten by the super spider, Peter Parker insisted on going home before fainting. It seems that the double venom is still too much for him. Marfa murmured secretly, but the movement of her hands did not stop at all. 2 bottles of golden wound medicine, small amount, were being held tightly by Marfa at this time. If Toby showed any abnormality, Marfa would pour it down without hesitation. At the same time, the venom of the super spider had spread to Toby's whole body through his body circulation. The DNA of the super spider carried in the venom was like countless floods and beasts, and began to attack Toby's own DNA frantically. In a short while, Toby's original double helix DNA chain was broken by the DNA chain from the super spider. Then, some bases in Toby's DNA began to mutate rapidly under the influence of the DNA of the super spider. If it were an ordinary person, he would have died on the spot after being attacked at the genetic level. However, Toby had continuous golden wound medicine, a small amount, and Marfa's healing technique to prolong his life. Finally, after 2 hours of fighting, the two types of DNA in Toby's body seemed to have reached a critical point of balance. Therefore, under the nourishment of the healing technique, the DNA in Toby's body began to reorganize rapidly. Although Toby was already in a coma at this moment, And although his body was still at a high temperature of nearly 45 degrees Celsius, the pain on his face was no longer as hideous as before. The sky gradually brightened, and the sunlight shone into the sewer through the vents, like stars, making this dark and cold sewer have a different atmosphere. What a pity. If there was no such stinky smell, Toby might come here often to reminisce about the past. Looking at Toby, whose condition was gradually stabilizing, Marfa couldn't help but smile. Fortunately, after the enhancement of the game, Marfa's physical and mental strength have made a qualitative leap. Otherwise, after stealing the spider first and accompanying Tobey Maguire for a whole night, I'm afraid he would be exhausted. Congratulations to the host for completing the special mission. Tigers and mice are not distinguishable. Mission objective: help Tobey Maguire become Spider-Man. Mission reward: conceal the existence of the plane where the host is. Congratulations to the host for exceeding the mission, and the host is rewarded with a passive skill, Spider Sense. Congratulations to the host for successfully deflecting the MCU plot, and the reward game time is 1,200 minutes. Please keep up the good work. The system prompts that kept ringing in his ears immediately shocked Marfa's spirit, and then he was ecstatic. 1,200 minutes, a full 20 hours. This is a timely help for Marfa, who is in urgent need of a large number of game points to improve his strength now that it is becoming more and more difficult to upgrade. What's more, there is an additional passive skill, Spider Sense. You must know that the ability of Spider Sense is the essence of Spider-Man. It can predict danger in advance through the sixth sense and respond in advance. It can be said that this ability alone can greatly improve Marfa's survivability. But what does the mission reward of concealing the plane mean? Is it to prevent Dormammu's invasion? When it comes to the issue of the multiverse, Marfa can only think of Dormammu, the Dark Lord who is constantly devouring the multiverse. In the northern part of Brooklyn, New York, downstairs of the Maximov family's apartment, Mobius is now on high alert with the soldiers of the Time Variance Administration. According to the Time-Space Variation Energy Detector, there are 2 abnormal energy fluctuations here. This means that there should be 2 time offenders in this building. Although, in another direction of New York, there are 4 larger abnormal energy fluctuations. But based on the principle of picking the softest persimmon, Mobius decided to deal with the 2 time offenders in front of him first. Sir, the abnormal energy fluctuations have disappeared. A soldier who was always monitoring the detector suddenly said. What? Disappeared? Hearing this, Mobius frowned and grabbed the energy detector to check. Sure enough, the several energy fluctuations that were still flashing before had disappeared at this time. How is it possible? Mobius fell silent immediately. With Mobius' countless years of work experience, there is only one possibility for the sudden disappearance of abnormal energy. That is, the 6 time offenders have left the current plane. Damn, I'm a step too late. Loki, it must be Loki. Only she can make such a big move under the nose of the Time Variance Administration. Let's go back first. Anyway, let's go to the headquarters to see the timeline here, and then decide whether to reset it. Mobius said, and immediately took out the Time Variance Administration's teleportation device. Beep. Beep. However, no matter how Mobius operated it, the teleportation device seemed to be broken, and it was completely unable to locate the spatial dimension where the Time Variance Administration was located. Sir, are we going to be trapped in this timeline? A soldier asked timidly. Chapter 38, Flush's Tears. This was the first time that the old man Mobius had encountered such a situation, so how could he give these rookies an answer? As a result, a group of more than 10 people fell into an extremely embarrassing situation. If they just waited for rescue, they had no money and no legal identity in this era. It would be extremely difficult to hold on until rescue arrived. If they used the time weapons in their hands to forcibly obtain resources to survive, let alone the problem of whether they had enough ammunition, once they affected this time and space too much, under the influence of the butterfly effect, they, as time law enforcers, would become the time offenders they shouted and killed. It was a ridiculous thing for the law enforcer to become the one being enforced. Alice, is it only possible to find her? Mobius sighed, immediately called up the map, and led a group of people to retreat in one direction. At this time, 2 uninvited guests arrived in the small apartment of Maximov's family. I'm sorry to bother you, Mrs. Maximov. Let me introduce myself, Gamora Thompson. This is my son Flash Thompson. He is a classmate of your son Marfa Maximov. Gamora pushed her son in a wheelchair and said with a kind smile. Oh, Then please come in. Natalia originally thought that a large group of people would come to prepare breakfast for her like yesterday, but she didn't expect that it was Marfa's classmates and his father who came. She immediately tidied her hair and welcomed the two into the house. Everyone sat down. Gamora looked around the surrounding situation, and her heart was full of disdain for the Maximov family. But thinking of that terrible force, she could only force a smile and try her best to play her role. Fortunately, he was a veteran in the business world, and his fat face covered everything well for him, so Natalia didn't notice anything unusual. Is it Marfa who caused the trouble? Natalia looked at Flash, whose legs were wrapped in thick bandages and covered with bruises, and asked worriedly. No, your son is very good, but my brat is too ignorant. It's also my fault that I am busy with work and neglect to discipline him. Flash's mother died early, which made this child develop a spoiled character. Alice. At this point, Gamora stopped talking rhythmically, revealing a look of extreme regret. This child often causes trouble for me at school. Look, seeing that your Marfa has just transferred here, I called a few gangsters to give him a warning. Who knew that the gangsters did such a good job? No, it's so excessive that they even targeted Mr. Maximov. As a veteran in the business world, he naturally has his own unique way of thinking. At this point, Gamora stopped talking. Pa. Gamora slapped himself in the face with a crisp slap. It's all my fault. I deserve to die. I didn't teach my son well. But don't worry, Mr. Maximov's medical expenses will all be on my side, and the $10 million before will be considered as nutrition expenses. Gamora's meaning was very clear. Basically, I have given the money, apologized, and the child is in a miserable state. You can handle it yourself. But to Natalia, these words sounded like the regret of a father who hated his son for not being able to make him a better son. Gamora has very strong public relations and communication skills, otherwise he would not have been able to start from scratch and build a large-scale hotel chain in the United States in just a few decades. First, it was a financial offensive, and then an emotional offensive. No one would coldly reject such a poor father. Sure enough, after listening to Gamora's words, Natalia understood the intentions of the father and son, and at the same time, she was moved by Gamora's sincerity. Children always have a rebellious period, and it's not easy to raise a child by yourself. To be honest, after Natalia learned that Django was beaten, she did have the idea of tracing the source and eliminating all the people involved. However, the situation is stronger than people. Although the water in the United States is not as deep as that in China, it is not much shallower. SHIELD, SWORD and the military are all very troublesome. Once things get out of hand, it will be her family that will suffer in the end. In view of this, after Natalia killed the people who hurt Django, her anger subsided by 30%. After all, even if she didn't care, she had to think about the 3 children, right? And when Django's injuries were fully recovered under Marfa's treatment, her anger subsided by another 30%. It's good that the person is fine. Anyway, the revenge has been taken. Why bother? Let's make a big thing small and a small thing nothing. Now, after seeing the miserable appearance of Flash Thompson, the mastermind behind all this, her anger has subsided by 20%. Coupled with Gamora's sincere apology, Natalia asked herself, if she continued to hold on to it, it would be petty. I was wrong, I regretted my impulsiveness, I deserve death, woo-woo. Seeing that Natalia was moved, Flash immediately burst into tears. Inherited from Gamora, this acting skill is naturally not bad. Before Natalia could react, Django, who heard all this in the house, came out immediately. Last night, while the 3 children were not at home, Django forced Natalia to talk all night. Under his tough attitude, Natalia finally explained everything. Django also truly understood Natalia's efforts and sacrifices for this family. He did not abandon his wife and children like Natalia's father did, but spent a whole night exercising to prove his love for Natalia and this family. Mr. Thompson, you don't have to do this. You are young, so it is inevitable that you will be angry. But it is not a good thing to have too many interactions with gangsters. Django put the check for $10 million that Natalia gave him last night on the table. You should take the money back. This matter ends here. Don't worry, I won't call the police, otherwise it will delay the child's future. Django is also a good man. After learning about his real family situation, he didn't want to cause any more trouble. Call the police? What does it mean? This time it was Gamora's turn to be confused. Did they say that the Maximov family was so powerful that they couldn't even afford to offend that person? Why do you need to call the police when you encounter something? Everyone knows that most American police are snobs who eat and work. Gamora was confused, but he didn't dare to show it. Jack David would never joke about such a thing. Maybe the other party was hiding something. Who is this? Gamora asked doubtfully, watching Django coming out of the house. After all, Jack David told him that the male owner of the house was beaten to death by them. Gamora really couldn't connect the ruddy man with limbs and ruddy face with Django. I am Marfa's father, Django Maximov. Go back and stop doing this. I'll just pretend that this never happened. Does Django need money? Yes, and very much. After all, he has 3 children and a wife to support. But he knows that a gentleman should earn money in a proper way. Since he is fine and the other party apologizes sincerely, Django, who wanted to settle the matter, naturally chose to let it go. Walking out of the small apartment, Gamora put the check back into his pocket. Flash, I want you to use your identity as a classmate to get close to that kid named Marfa, and make sure you find out the power behind them. If this matter is handled well, maybe our family will be able to move up a level. What if that person made a wrong judgment? This family doesn't have any power behind them, then, do it cleanly, okay? As he spoke, Gamora made a gesture of wiping his neck. Chapter 39 I want to collect protection fees. Marfa, this is so cool. On the rooftop of a building in Queens, Toby, who had just finished school, dragged Marfa to watch his reality show. He stretched out his right hand, and as his fingers moved, a white spider silk sprayed out from his wrist, and one end of the spider silk firmly stuck to the building opposite. Then, accompanied by Toby's loud shout, his figure suddenly rushed to the edge of the rooftop of the building, like a swing, crossing a distance of more than 10 meters and arriving at the top of the building opposite. Haha. Marfa had already known all this, and didn't find it surprising at all. Toby's performance did not end there. He bent his legs and stared at the building under Marfa's feet with his eyes fixed on it, with an extremely solemn expression. Then, Toby's body shot towards this side again like a cannonball. After drawing a long arc, it was about to hit the building, but Toby suddenly rolled over and stood firmly on the wall with his legs. At first glance, it seemed as if the gravity of the earth was deflected. The 90-degree vertical angle with the building could not affect Toby's walking on the wall at all. This is a bit exaggerated. Marfa remembered very clearly that Spider-Man's ability was only to crawl on the wall, by increasing the contact area with the wall and fixing his body on the wall with as many invisible barbs as possible. As it is now, the state of being able to walk normally on the wall only appeared in Spider-Man 3, when Toby obtained the Venom suit and his strength was greatly enhanced. As expected, the 2 super spiders obviously transformed Toby's body more thoroughly, so the degree of mutation was also very different from Peter Parker in the original plot. How is it? Toby jumped and came to Marfa, and asked with a smug look on his face. Not bad, not bad. Looking at Toby's swift movements, Marfa praised repeatedly, and her eyes were full of envy. It is said that the protagonist is the protagonist. I worked hard to plan and kill monsters. In terms of physical strength, I am only half of Captain America. But according to Toby's performance just now, I am afraid that he has reached the level of 5 or 6 Captain America. P.S. According to the official setting, Captain America's strength is about 5 tons, and the original Spider-Man is about 20 tons. It can be imagined that if I fight with Toby now, the most likely loser is Marfa himself. Fortunately, Spider-Man's ceiling is there, and it is almost impossible to improve it later. And Marfa himself, under the template of the Taoist priest after strengthening, has endless possibilities. Of course, the most important thing is that Spider-Man's means are too simple compared to the Taoist priest. After all, the real battle is not a weightlifting competition. Equipment and skills are extremely important factors. Otherwise, why can Captain America and Thanos be evenly matched? What should I do now? Toby was immediately confused after getting excited about his ability. Indeed, what should I do? Marfa had thought about this question countless times. Help others? Haha, Marfa is not the kind of selfless White Lotus. Marfa has always regarded herself as a superpower, not a superhero. Marfa will never look at anything that will affect her own interests, even if she can save thousands of people. Everyone has their own ambitions. Judging from the original plot, it is absolutely not an exaggeration to say that Spider-Man is a saint. Even when facing the duo who killed his uncle, Spider-Man hesitated and kept making decisions in his heart whether to take revenge. It is also because of this that Marfa can meet that one day in the future, she will definitely stand on the opposite side of SHIELD. Therefore, Marfa has always followed Natalia's instructions, and everything should be done carefully, and not to show her abilities in front of the world at will. However, since he created Toby, Marfa naturally didn't want him to follow the old path of Spider-Man like in the original plot, otherwise he would become his enemy one day. After thinking for a moment, Marfa's eyes suddenly flashed. How about starting with collecting protection fees? Toby looked at a black question mark face. Yes, you have great strength now, but you are a poor bee, and if you want to snatch Mary Jane from Flash, you must have money. No. Mary Jane is not that kind of woman. Toby argued again. But even he himself didn't realize that since he gained power, his original timid character has begun to fade slowly, and gradually replaced by something called self-confidence. Okay. You are right, Mary Jane is not a woman who despises the poor and loves the rich, but you don't want her to suffer with you in the future. Marfa immediately agreed. Think about it, Queens and North Brooklyn are full of crimes, and vendors and pedestrians live in fear every day. You fight crime and collect some protection fees from them. Is that too much? You have also worked hard, and you need to support your family, right? Think about your elderly uncle and aunt, who raised you. Don't you want to improve their lives and let them enjoy their old age? Marfa knew Toby's kind nature very well. It was obviously impossible to ask him to directly establish a black force. Instead of doing so, it would be better to start by collecting protection fees and make him a gray superhero who drives profit. Obviously, Marfa's words were not pleasant to hear, but they were very realistic. Especially when you think of Flash Thompson as a rich man. If you want to steal his girlfriend as a poor loser, the difficulty is self-evident. But if you follow Marfa's words, collecting protection fees while dutifully protecting the person you charge, this is essentially just a security guard, and it does not break Toby's moral bottom line at all. Thank you, Marfa. I have decided that I will be the uncrowned king of Queens and North Brooklyn. I will collect protection fees from every household in these two districts. At this moment, Tobey Maguire's eyes sparkled, as if he had established his life dream, looking up at the sky at a 45-degree angle. Pa. Marfa mercilessly interrupted Toby's why with a slap on the back of his head. What are you thinking? You dare to collect protection fees from my family, you kid don't want to live, right? Marfa said with a smile. Ha ha ha. Toby scratched his head, showing an embarrassed look. Then the laughter of the two filled the rooftop of the entire building. SHIELD, Trident headquarters. Nick Fury stared at the electronic display in his hand. The screen was exactly the scene of Tobey Maguire swinging between the buildings just now. Alice, it's the turbulent time. The matter of Tony Stark hasn't been dealt with yet, and the incident of the Brooklyn Bridge came right after. Now there is a suspected superpowered person. Natasha, put Tony Stark aside for now, and go contact Natalia Maximoff and Tobey Maguire next. In any case, first determine their security level and create an intelligence file. Okay, Director. Natasha Romanoff took the two documents handed over by Nick Fury, nodded slightly, and immediately left Nick Fury's office. Chapter 40 Black Widow Home Visit. Natasha Romanoff, nicknamed Black Widow, is one of the top agents trained by the Red House of the former Soviet Union. Later, she came to the United States for various unknown reasons and joined SHIELD. Now she has become a level 7 agent and is one of the right-hand men of the current SHIELD. Director, Nick Fury. Looking at the two reports on Natalia Maximoff and Tobey Maguire in her hand, Natasha's mouth corners can't help but rise slightly, as if she has discovered something. Interesting, these two seemingly unrelated people have an intersection in you. Natasha in the archives room thought for a moment, and immediately turned out the information about Marfa. It has to be said that women's sixth sense has always been very accurate, especially top female agents like Natasha, whose intuition is even more accurate and daunting. After reading the information Nick Fury gave, Natasha immediately started to look up the relationship between Tobey and Natalia. As a result, Marfa, Natalia's son and Tobey's best friend, naturally came into Natasha's sight. If it were someone else, they might just think it was a coincidence, but Natasha decisively focused her investigation on Marfa. Soon, Marfa's height, hobbies, personality, and everything that happened in Midtown High School were listed in front of Natasha. Interesting, accidentally kicked a classmate's leg. Also, the flight trajectory of this basketball is obviously not in line with common sense. Also, at such a young age, he interrogated the enemy with such decisive and ruthless means. It's not simple, very not simple. The more Natasha read Marfa's information, the more she felt that Marfa had a problem. If she said that she was only interested in Marfa because of Natalia and Toby at the beginning, then now Natasha is obviously more interested in Marfa. Then, should I report to the director first? In the current situation, it would be better to give this task to Phil Callison instead of giving it to me. After all, he is the honorary principal of Midtown High School. Natalia thought so. But she quickly shook off this idea. Nick Fury and Phil Callison are now worried about Tony Stark's kidnapping. On the one hand, they have to deal with the pressure from the US government and the UN Security Council, and on the other hand, they have to constantly appease public opinion and Stark Industries. Compared with dealing with those annoying politicians, Natasha prefers to deal with this woman with the same name as herself. P.S. Black Widow Natasha Romanoff, real name, Natalia Elyanovna Romanova. Coincidentally, she has the same name as Wanda's mother. Spider-Man Peter Parker and Star-Lord Peter Quill also have the same name, so I can't complain. Washington is not far from New York. After asking Phil Callison for an identity certificate of an honorary teacher at Midtown High School, Natasha immediately landed in New York in a Quinjet fighter. That day, the Maximoff family enjoyed their after-dinner entertainment in the small apartment as usual, watching black and white sitcoms. Ding dong. The doorbell rang again. Natalia couldn't help but frown and walked straight to the door. "Three little guys, you'd better pray that it's not you who caused trouble outside this time, and they came to your door," Natalia said half-jokingly. After all, the incident with Flash Thompson happened not long ago, and Natalia, who didn't know the truth, talked to Marfa for half an hour. What a joke. Even if your classmate is wrong, it's not right for you to kick him in the leg. If not, Natalia didn't believe that Flash would be so radical to find a group of thugs to target her family. The kind-hearted Natalia obviously underestimated the evil of human nature. After seeing Flash's miserable appearance, she subconsciously regarded him as a bad boy who had stopped at the edge of the cliff, and also characterized this incident as the disaster caused by Marfa's abuse of superpowers. "Hello, Mrs. Maximoff, I am Natasha Romanoff, an honorary teacher of Central City High School." Natasha immediately took out the Central City High School teacher certificate that Phil Callison had given her in advance. Seeing Natasha showed her identity, Natalia immediately welcomed her into the house. "My humble home is simple, please forgive me, Teacher Romanoff." Natalia greeted Natasha and handed her a cup of coffee, saying apologetically. His heart was even more tense, fearing that his three boys would cause trouble again. "Who is this?" Seeing his wife bring in a strange woman, Django immediately stood up from the sofa and asked suspiciously. "This is Natasha Romanoff, a teacher at Midtown High School, who is here for a home visit." Natalia took over the topic naturally and introduced Natasha to everyone. Unlike Wanda and Pietro, who were confused, Marfa's pupils suddenly shrank, and she immediately looked at the strange woman in front of her. Dark golden hair, sharp eyes, perfect figure, and faintly visible muscles on her forearms. That's right, this must be the famous Black Widow. I didn't expect that she would be the first to contact my family. Although Marfa had thought about how to get in touch with Natasha so that she could learn her fighting skills, she never thought that they would meet in this way. A teacher at Midtown High School? As expected, she is a top agent of SHIELD. Teacher Romanoff, is it because my child got into trouble at school again that you? Django spoke first. No, your three children are all very excellent. As far as I know, Mr. Maximoff and his family just came to New York. Can I ask why you suddenly came here from Sokovia? Natasha said casually as if she was chatting with her family. This. Django was a little embarrassed. He couldn't say that his family came to New York to escape from a crazy witch. It's because of these three children. You know, New York's educational resources are top-notch in the world, and Midtown High School is full of talents. Seeing that Django was speechless, Natalia took over the conversation and praised Midtown High School by the way, wanting to leave a good impression on Natasha. Oh. Natasha glanced at the three children and finally set her sights on Marfa. Indeed, these three children are all very good. Especially Marfa. Ha, does Mr. Romanoff think so too? To be honest, my Marfa is very hardworking in his studies. Seeing Natasha praising his son, Django was immediately much happier and spoke out loudly. For a while, everyone was talking happily. At the end, Natasha suddenly pulled Marfa and said to Django and Natalia, "Marfa is a very talented child. Our Central City High School adheres to the concept of teaching students in accordance with their aptitude and people-oriented. We hope that this child can integrate into campus life as soon as possible. I want to tutor Marfa every day in the future. What do you think?" This. The originally harmonious atmosphere seemed to be frozen at this moment as Natasha spoke. Of course, this was not because Django saw through Natasha, but because of the lack of money. You know, the cost of hiring a private tutor in the United States is quite high. A family like Maximov, who can only maintain food and clothing, absolutely cannot afford this expense. But who is Natasha? Observing words and expressions and understanding psychology are the most basic qualities of top agents. If you are worried about the cost, the school can reduce it appropriately. Of course, if Marfa can get a scholarship, not only will you not have to pay extra, but you can even have a surplus. Natasha originally planned to use Marfa as a breakthrough to investigate the Maximov family and Tobey Maguire. If she used private tutoring as an excuse, she would naturally have a lot of time to spend with Marfa. However, she ignored the family situation of the Maximov family. After all, most of the people who were worth changing their identities to contact in the past were either rich or powerful. That is simply great. Among the three children, Django only has high hopes for his youngest son in terms of study. After all, Marfa's predecessor was a complete academic bully. If it is said who can get a scholarship, Django's first thought is definitely Marfa. After all, when in Sokovia, Marfa has won a lot. Okay, in that case, I will apply to the school. Starting from the day after tomorrow, Marfa, don't forget to come to the office on the 5th floor of the school after school to find me. The school intends to select 2 students from the transfer students for intensive tutoring this time. Does Marfa have any recommendations? For example, your best friend, Tobey Maguire, who transferred here with you. Natasha was testing Marfa. The information she got showed that Marfa was present when Tobey showed his superpowers on the rooftop. If it were an ordinary child, Marfa would definitely be able to see a lot from his expression when he suddenly mentioned this friend with superpowers in front of Marfa. Marfa's disguise was very good. He just nodded with a smile and replied, "Tobey's grades are also good, but he is more introverted. I'm afraid it will cause the teacher a lot of trouble." What Marfa didn't know was that his indifferent performance was exactly what Natasha wanted. If she said that Marfa didn't have any secrets at this time, Natasha would definitely not believe it. Even though Marfa has the system, traveled through time and space, and has mastered countless intelligence, he is still an ordinary person. How can he compare with Natasha, the Black Widow who has been immersed in the spy industry for decades, when he has not yet made significant progress in his mind? Just the first meeting, he has already fallen into a disadvantage. However, what Natasha doesn't know is that while she is targeting Marfa, Marfa is also targeting her. PS. 3,000 words long chapter. Please urge for updates and gifts. Chapter 41 Conquering the Rainbow Group. Queens, New York. Tobey Maguire has already started the first step of his great dream, collecting protection fees. However, if you were to collect them directly from ordinary families, Tobey said he couldn't afford the shame. So, the gangsters who often wandered the streets and alleys of Queens became Tobey's first target. At this time, 7 gangsters were lying in front of Tobey, who were entangled like dumplings by spider silk. But they all had different hair colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. At first glance, they looked like a gorgeous rainbow. Bang! Bang! Tobey removed a rusty steel pipe from an abandoned construction site and kept hitting the iron frame beside him. "You bunch of rubbish, you don't learn your lessons all day long, not only stealing and taking drugs, but also robbing children's lollipops. Tell me, how do you want me to discipline you?" As he said that, Tobey immediately stepped slowly and kept approaching the 7 people. The steel rod in his right hand kept hitting his left palm, and he seemed to be about to hit the 7 people in the next second. "Humph, the 7 of us brothers are not the kind of cowards who fear power. If you have the guts, come on. If you kill us, you will also be wanted by the police," the red-haired leader said with a great backbone. "Really?" Tobey's mouth corners could not help but slightly rise, revealing a very strange arc. His footsteps even quickened a little bit without making a sound, and the movement of hitting the steel pipe with his hand also inadvertently quickened a little bit. "Oh, sorry, I just used too much force, I'll go change a steel pipe. Toby said, and threw the steel pipe that he had bent casually. But the steel pipe flew out towards the wall on the other side like a sharp arrow from a string. Whoosh! The sound of breaking through the air suddenly rose, and the steel pipe directly penetrated a cement block not far away that was as thick as a person, and deeply embedded in the wall behind the cement block. Hiss! Seeing this scene, the 7 people couldn't help but gasp. What a joke! He could easily bend a steel pipe as thick as his arm, and with a light throw, he could shoot through the concrete pier and embed it deeply into the wall. What a force! At this time, the 7 people looked at Toby again, as if they saw a devil crawling out of hell. Surprise, fear, and unbelievable. Is this boy in front of them still a human? Everyone couldn't help but doubt. Pa! Another steel pipe longer than the previous one was removed from the nearby, and Toby walked towards the 7 people with a smile on his face. Where should I hit first? Legs? Hands? Or just smash your little toothpicks? Toby whispered softly. But it sounded like a curse in the ears of the 7 people, making them tremble. Crazy, this guy is really a lunatic, and a pervert. He actually wanted to smash his little steel cannon. At this moment, the red-haired man only felt a chill between his legs climbing up his back, and drops of cold sweat slid down his forehead involuntarily. Hero, good man, we know we are wrong, please let us go, we swear, we will never do bad things again. Brother is right, this good man, please let us go. Yes. The other 6 people also echoed. No, how can we not do bad things? If you don't do bad things, what's the difference between you and salted fish? Look at you, you have beautiful eyebrows and amazing bones, you are born to do bad things. 7 people. What the hell? Listen, this is human language. Beautiful eyebrows and amazing bones. Ugh. Thinking this in their hearts, the 7 people did not dare to say it directly, but just kept begging for mercy, completely forgetting their previous toughness. I am a good person. Don't you think so? Toby let himself go at this moment. The emotions that had been suppressed for many years were clearly revealed at this moment. He opened his eyes wide, lowered his voice, and spoke slowly with a smile on his face. The 7 people trembled with fear. Yes. Good man, you are a good person, a very good person. Red Hair immediately made fun of him. What should a good person do if he wants to collect some protection money? Toby continued to ask in a sarcastic tone. As the eldest of the 7, Red Hair was a smart guy. At this time, he could not understand Toby's implication. Good man, the 7 of us brothers will follow your lead from now on. Please, let us collect protection money for you. Red Hair said with a pleading face. How can that be? I never force anyone to do things for me. I'm a good person. Toby fiercely thrust the steel pipe in his hand into the ground, only to see that the more than 1 meter long steel pipe just sank into the ground, as if it had never existed. No, hero, you didn't force us, we did it voluntarily. Brothers, don't you agree? Orange Hair said quickly. Yes, we did it voluntarily. Please, hero, let us collect protection fees for you. Everyone followed suit. Wrong again, don't call me hero, call me boss. Toby continued to speak in a sarcastic tone, scaring the 7 people so much that they were sweating. Boss. X7 everyone shouted in unison. Seeing that the 7 people were so sensible, Toby no longer made things difficult for them. He untied the 7 people, explained some details of collecting protection fees, and then let the 7 people leave. As for the fear that the 7 people would run away, Toby didn't care. There were so many gangsters in New York, and at most he could just catch a few more tools. Of course, if these 7 little ones dare to disobey, it is best not to let them meet again, otherwise they will be killed and thrown into the sea to feed the sharks. For a whole day, Toby wandered around the streets of Queens and northern Brooklyn in New York to catch tool men, and he was having fun. At this time, Flash was racking his brains to think about how to get the secrets of the Maximov family. After thinking for a long time, Flash finally decided to put the breakthrough on Tobey Maguire. First, in Flash's view, Toby is a bully. People like this are usually very inferior and eager for friendship. As long as he shows a little sincerity, he can become Toby's good friend. As a good friend of Marfa, it is obviously easier to get Marfa's secrets from Toby. Secondly, although Natalia and Django both said that the previous matter ended here, Flash had seen Marfa's cruelty with his own eyes. The scene of one foot with a small toothpick, until now, still lingered in Flash's mind like a nightmare. As for contacting Marfa, Flash said that he should not be too impatient, and taking too big a step would easily cause trouble. In short, a little impatience will ruin a big plan. Flash felt that as long as he figured out what Marfa relied on, he could find its weakness. With the strength of the Thompson family, it would not be difficult to bring down a poor family like Maximoff. At the same time, in a remote cave in Afghanistan, Tony Stark, encouraged by Dr. Ethan, has regained the courage to live. By pretending to cater to the head of the Ten Commandments and promising him to make the Jericho missile for him, Tony also gained a certain degree of freedom of action. With his extraordinary courage and clever mind, Tony Stark successfully developed the first generation of micro-arc reactors using a pile of weapon waste. So far, Tony Stark's life has been initially guaranteed. On the other hand, the Ten Rings had only agreed to kidnap a person who was in charge of Stark Industries for Obadiah Stane, the second in command of Stark Industries. But the Ten Rings did not expect that Obadiah's ambition was so great that they kidnapped the CEO of Stark Industries, Tony Stark. So, on the one hand, the Ten Rings forced Tony Stark to make the latest weapon developed by Stark Industries, the Jericho missile, for them. On the other hand, they posted the video of the kidnapping of Tony Stark on the internet, trying to use it as a threat to gain more benefits from Obadiah. Trident headquarters of SHIELD in Washington. Director Fury, there's news about Tony Stark. Phil Coulson hurried into Nick Fury's office and showed Nick Fury the video posted on the internet by the Ten Rings. Have you found out where the IP address of the video is? This was the best news Nick Fury had heard in many days, and he asked immediately. The general location has been confirmed, it is in Afghanistan, and our network hackers are still further locating it. It's just. Phil Coulson hesitated halfway through his words. Just say what you want to say. This is not like you, Agent Coulson. Nick Fury scolded. According to our monitoring of all shareholders of Stark Industries, we found that Obadiah Stane, the acting CEO of Stark Industries, also received a copy of the same video in his mailbox. It was sent separately. In addition, there are a lot of photos of Tony Stark being kidnapped, which are also included. Coulson reported truthfully. Hearing this, Nick Fury frowned, and his originally dark face became even more gloomy. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42 Layout. Finally, I reached level 17. In the bedroom, Marfa suddenly opened his eyes from the bed, and then a strong warm current gushed out of his body, constantly transforming his body. It's been 20 hours. Marfa felt tired as soon as he thought about the past 20 hours. He kept killing zombies in the legendary world like a tool. It is worth mentioning that in the boring upgrade process, Marfa clearly felt the magic of the new skill, Spider Sense. In the game, the ability of Spider Sense is manifested as a significant increase in the character's movement and dodge speed, thereby greatly improving the character's dodge ability. This skill saves Marfa a lot of time to replenish potions. Character, Marfa. Occupation, Taoist. Level 17, Defense. 5-6, Magic Defense. 3-7, Attack. 6-12, Taoist Magic. 3-10, Physical Value, Blood. 105/105, Magic Value, Blue. 92/92, Skills, Healing Level 3, Mental Combat Level 2, Spider Sense, cannot be upgraded in level, Poison Level 2, Equipment, Half Moon, Light Armor, Male, Large Bracelet 2, Top Quality, Glass Ring 1, Glass Ring 1, Top Quality, Phoenix Pearl, Top Quality, Magic Helmet. Glass Ring, Top Grade, Durability. 3/3, Taoism. 0 and 3, Required Level. 7, Magic Helmet Durability. 8/8, Defense. 0-1, Magic Defense. 1-1, Required Level. 14, Half Moon Durability. 14/14, Attack. 5-10, Magic. 0 and 1, Taoism. 1-1, Required Level. 15, Phoenix Pearl, Durability. 11/11, accuracy, +1, Taoism. 1-3, +1, required level. 17. The top-grade glass ring was obtained from an orc that Marfa killed when she was swiping zombies back to the city for supplies. It can be said to be a 0-3 Taoist bonus, and it is not inferior to the 1-2 moral ring that can only be worn at level 23. Marfa was excited for half an hour because of this. The Phoenix Pearl was dropped by the zombie in a cassock that Marfa killed when he first explored the mine. As the saying goes, life is full of surprises, and this is the best. Although this game journey has only slightly improved Marfa's strength, the improvement in Taoism is earth-shaking. After testing it with the dumbbells in the room, Marfa roughly estimated that the strength of his telekinesis is close to 2 tons, which is close to his muscle strength of about 3 tons. He can even divide the telekinesis into 2 strands and control it at the same time. There is no doubt that Marfa is now a real superpower. Of course, compared with Tobey Maguire, who has nearly 30 tons of strength with a cheat, Marfa is still much inferior. With the increase in level, Marfa has successfully unlocked the poisoning skill, and the healing skill has also been successfully upgraded to level 3. Due to the previous action of introducing chaos energy into the Taoist template, Marfa gained the ability to strengthen and transform the skill itself by adding special materials into the eyes of the yin-yang fish when the skill reached level 3. In other words, Marfa now has the possibility of surpassing the legendary Taoist template and creating a new skill. However, Marfa has not found the right materials to transform and upgrade the healing skill. What if the original effect of the skill is reduced instead of increased because of the random stuffing of things into the yin-yang fish? Wouldn't it be more harm than good? For example, if some poison is added to the yin-yang fish of the healing skill, will the target be poisoned while being treated? Or in other words, the target's attacks will be highly poisonous in the next period of time? Thinking of this, Marfa secretly made up his mind that he would never abuse this ability unless he found a suitable opportunity. The bright moon was hanging high outside the window, and the mist gradually enveloped New York City. Lying quietly on the bed, Marfa began to think about the next plan of the card. Calculating the time, Tony Stark has been kidnapped for about 2 months. It is expected that Mark I will be born in a cave in Afghanistan soon. Then there are undoubtedly only 2 options for Marfa. Either help Tony Stark to get rid of Obadiah faster, or help Obadiah defeat Tony Stark. The former is icing on the cake, and may gain Tony Stark's friendship, but this friendship is definitely the least valuable. After all, in the original plot, even if he did not participate, Iron Man can still defeat Ironmonger. It can be imagined that if this is chosen, the deflection of the plot will definitely be minimal, so the game time rewarded by the system will inevitably be greatly reduced. If you choose to help Obadiah, then Marfa will face the wrath of Nick Fury next. No matter what, Tony Stark is the son of Howard Stark, and Howard Stark is one of the founders of SHIELD. With this relationship, Tony Stark stood invincible at the beginning of the plot. So is there any way to help Obadiah and avoid conflict with S.H.I.E.L.D. on the surface? Marfa gradually closed her eyes, and made various assumptions frantically in her mind. Soon, under her huge mental calculation, a line of thought gradually became clear. It seems that the key to breaking the situation still depends on him. Marfa murmured secretly, and immediately sat up, used her telekinesis, took out a pen and paper and started writing. Betty, whose full name is Elizabeth Talbot Ross, is the only daughter of General Ross. She is a well-known molecular biologist in the United States. Recently, she was invited to New York to conduct biological research because of the super spider arachne newly cultivated by Columbia University. On this day, Betty had just returned to the hotel when a note floated into her room. With a puzzled mood, Betty picked up the note on the ground and checked it. There were only a few simple sentences written on the note. Bruce Banner is at the Guarana beverage factory in Puerto Verde, Brazil. General Ross is preparing to implement a plan to capture him. If you want to save Banner, you can only find Obadiah Stane of Stark Industries. When Betty saw the words written on the note clearly, she took a breath. The longing for Bruce Banner in her heart instantly burst out with 2 lines of tears. 2 years ago, at the invitation of her father, General Ross, Betty joined a military experimental team, and met a young man with 7 doctoral degrees during the research process, Bruce Banner, and the two soon fell in love. However, in the next experiment, Bruce Banner had the ability to transform into the Hulk because of an experimental accident, and a new personality Hulk was born in his body. Hulk is like a newborn baby, full of fear and curiosity about the world, and his out-of-control emotions make him wantonly destroy everything around him. After seeing the powerful destructive power of the Hulk, General Ross immediately thought of copying a group of Hulk legions. Therefore, a long plan to capture the escaped Hulk began, which also led to the loss of contact between Betty and Banner. Excitement, fear, worry, all kinds of emotions enveloped Betty for a while. At this time, Betty did not care about investigating the credibility of the intelligence. She quickly changed her clothes and drove to the New York office of Stark Industries. Chapter 43, Interview with the Supreme Mage. In this case, we just need to wait and see the show. Outside the hotel, Marfa, who was suspended in the air by telekinesis, watched Betty's back as she left, and couldn't help thinking in his heart. The matter of the Hulk is no longer a secret in the eyes of the US top leaders and even the consortium. It can be said that few forces will remain unmoved by its powerful strength. Although Obadiah does not know that Tony will return strongly as Iron Man in the near future. But this does not affect his pulling the Hulk into his camp. Especially for an ambitious person like Obadiah, it is almost impossible for him to refuse Betty's request. In this way, Bruce Banner successfully avoided the pursuit of General Ross by helping Betty to successfully meet her lover with the help of Obadiah. Banner will owe Obadiah a big favor. At that time, when Ironmonger fights Iron Man, will the Hulk not appear? Obviously impossible. Although it is unfair to Tony, who was originally sure to win, this is undoubtedly the preferred way for Marfa to both get out and deflect the MCU plot to the greatest extent. Alice, Tony, I'm sorry. I have no choice. Just think of it as atonement for the mistakes you made to my family in the original timeline. Don't worry, you will not die with Toby and S.H.I.E.L.D. backing you up. Marfa said to himself, and then he controlled the telekinesis to fly towards his home. But at this moment, a spark appeared in front of Marfa out of thin air. The spark was extremely gorgeous, like the fairy wand that Marfa lit in his childhood, lighting up the silent night sky. But the spark drew a circle as high as a person in the air at a lightning speed, and moved horizontally towards Marfa's position. Seeing this, Marfa was immediately shocked. Is the most worried thing coming? He wanted to escape from the circle of sparks, but an invisible gravitational force seemed to have predicted Marfa's thoughts and imprisoned him tightly. Finally, as the sparks passed through Marfa, the scene in front of Marfa changed dramatically. Kamar Taj is a magic temple located in Nepal. It was established by Agamotto, the messenger of Vishanti, millions of years ago. The white magicians of Kamar Taj have always been committed to maintaining peace in the multiverse. And the descendant of Agamotto, the Ancient One, won the title of Supreme Mage after Agamotto and became the current leader of Kamar Taj. In terms of strength, the Ancient One has reached the level of a father, and is not much inferior to Odin, the god king of Norse mythology. Mr. Maximoff, I'm very sorry to invite you here. Just as Marfa was looking at the surrounding environment, a solemn but friendly voice came from not far away. Following the voice, Marfa soon came to a garden. Flowers are in full bloom, water flows under a small bridge, and ancient trees stand in the forest. Walking on the cobblestone path, Marfa soon saw the owner of the voice. This person was wearing a gray-white monk's robe, holding a teacup in one hand and a folding fan in the other, sitting quietly in the pavilion. Her hair, anyway, it was particularly dazzling in the sun. There is no doubt that this person is the Supreme Sorcerer Ancient One. Can't escape? Although he knew that he would collide with a big guy in front of him sooner or later, Marfa never thought that everything would come so quickly. Could it be because the news he just leaked to Betty would have a huge impact on the established history? Marfa kept guessing in his heart. Please sit down, Mr. Maximov. Ancient One put away his folding fan and gently pointed to another seat beside the stone table. His calm appearance made Marfa lose confidence. Sitting opposite Ancient One tremblingly, Marfa did not dare to look into Ancient One's eyes. It seemed that if he looked at him, he would be seen through by him. Mr. Maximov, let me introduce you briefly. This is Kamar Taj, a place that spreads wisdom and faith and yearns for peace. I am the owner here, the Supreme Mage, you can call me Master Ancient One. The Ancient One handed over a cup of tea and nodded slightly. Hello, Master Ancient One, I am Marfa Maximov, the son of Natalia. I have heard of you from my mother. You don't have to be so polite, just call me Marfa. Marfa took the tea and said very cautiously. Can you help me solve a doubt in my heart? I have the ability to travel through time and space, and I have seen countless different endings in the future. However, You have never existed in all of this. In you, I can't see the past or the future. Your existence has added countless possibilities and uncertainties to this universe. The Ancient One stared at Marfa with his eyes, quietly waiting for his answer. Ding. Mental detection detected. The system activates the self-protection mechanism. The prompt sound of the system rang again in my ear. Just like when it was detected by Natalia just now when it crossed over, the system obviously did not want others to know its existence. I'm sorry, Master Ancient One, I don't understand what you said, and I can't answer your question. Marfa said a little nervously. Then can you tell me why everything that happened around you is deviated from other dimensions? Not long ago, I had a few guests here. If nothing unexpected happens, their target should be you. Ancient One said solemnly, obviously referring to Mobius and other 11 members from the Time Variance Administration. Ancient One's question can be said to be directly to the caller. For a moment, Marfa didn't know how to answer. For the smart man who has lived for hundreds of years, Marfa asked himself that his acting skills would definitely not be able to deceive the other party. But if he told the truth, Ancient One's attitude was unclear at the moment, and doing so would obviously push himself to the cliff. I think this is fate. My intuition tells me that I should do this, live by the grass, and do what I want. Just be yourself, why bother about those so-called rules and regulations? Marfa thought for a moment and answered. You just said that other dimensions, let's not talk about whether this parallel universe theory is valid. Even if there is, in my opinion, it is just like twins. Maybe they look very similar on the surface, but even twins will go on completely different paths as they grow up. Otherwise, what is the meaning of individual existence? Marfa knew in his heart that he was an outsider, an existence that should not exist in this universe. The reason why he emphasized the significance of the individual was purely to find a suitable reason for his existence. But when Guyi heard this, it made sense. A pair of twins, when they were just born, may look almost exactly the same, but as they grow up, one of them may fall or get hurt, leaving a scar that is difficult to erase. And Marfa is like this scar, an accidental product of Django and Natalia. P.S. Contraceptive failure? Manual funny. Since Marfa's existence is a fact, the development of the whole world will inevitably change because of the butterfly effect. From this point of view, the Ancient One and the Time Variance Administration have different ideas. The former believes that as long as the balance of dimensions is not destroyed, it can exist. The difference is nothing more than one more or one less parallel universe. The latter's responsibility is to completely eliminate this possibility. In other words, in the eyes of the Time Variance Administration, if one of the twins has a scar due to an accident, then it must be destroyed and reset. Chapter 44 Mobius's Compromise. Is that so? Ancient One murmured secretly. Unlike the first-generation Supreme Sorcerer, Agamotto, Ancient One was just an ordinary cell hundreds of years ago. Even though his strength was comparable to that of some gods, he could not escape the shackles of humanity. As we all know, human cell division is the most basic element to maintain vital signs, and the telomeres in DNA are the core that determines the number of cell divisions. For a normal human, the number of cell divisions in a lifetime is about 50 times. Factors at the genetic level determine that it is difficult for human life to be greatly improved. In theory, Ancient One has reached the limit of lifespan. However, through traveling through the multiverse, Ancient One discovered that it would take a long time for the next Supreme Sorcerer, Stephen Strange, or Doctor Strange, to be born. As a result, the important task of protecting the multiverse and leading Kamartaj will be vacant for hundreds of years. On one side is Dormammu, the Lord of Darkness, who is eyeing the multiverse, and on the other side is Kamartaj, which is in a period of transition. The Ancient One finally made a decision, which was to inject the power of darkness into his body and thereby delay the aging of his body. In essence, this is also a manifestation of the Ancient One's struggle with fate. In the original plot, it was not until Stephen Strange successfully entered the sect that the Ancient One let go of this obsession and returned to the arms of Vishanti, who is worshipped by Kamartaj, through the hand of Caecilius. In the long river of fate, everything is nothing more than an insignificant existence, but it is precisely these billions of insignificances that have made the universe great. Looking at this young man in front of him who is obviously weak, but like himself, he goes against the will of heaven and follows his heart. For a moment the Ancient One actually saw some of his own shadow in Marfa. The reason why I brought you here to talk to you about this today is that I actually have no intention of pursuing responsibility. I don't know why, But I learned from Mobius of the Time Variance Administration that the timeline we are currently in has been protected by an unknown force. This force has blinded this plane, making it impossible for us to contact other planes. Do you know what this means? Asked Gu Yi. Unknown power? Isolation plane? At this moment, Marfa immediately thought of the rewards given when completing the system tasks before. Special mission, tigers and mice are not distinguished. Mission goal, help Tobey Maguire become Spider-Man. Mission reward, conceal the existence of the plane where the host is. Yes, it must be this, Marfa said with certainty in his heart. Please enlighten me, Master Gu Yi. Marfa asked sincerely. Marfa also couldn't understand this mission reward at all. This means that fate will not be able to dominate the plane we are currently in, and no one can interfere with the development of this world. Of course, it also means that my time magic will no longer be able to see the future trend. In Chinese terms, this is called chaos and mystery. Chaos and mystery. Marfa repeated this sentence repeatedly, but the next second his eyes flashed, and thousands of thoughts surged into his mind. Doesn't this mean that from now on, whether Marvel is in chaos or not is up to me? Previously, Marfa had always been afraid that because of making too many changes to the MCU world, he would attract moralists like the Ancient One to target him. But now, the Ancient One is secretly telling himself, you can do whatever you want, no one will find out. It's like a law enforcer telling a prisoner, do whatever you want, the law enforcement department is on holiday, and no one cares about you. Thinking of this, Marfa couldn't help but feel a surge of emotion, as if he saw countless game cards waving at him. Marfa, you are a variable. As the guardian of the multiverse, I shouldn't interfere with you too much, but I still want to say one more thing. Leave a line for everything so that we can meet again in the future. Don't be too decisive. As if he had seen through Marfa's mind, Gu Yi advised. Marfa didn't say anything else, but stood up and bowed deeply to Gu Yi. Master Gu Yi's teachings, Marfa will keep them in mind. Okay, you go. If you really encounter difficulties, you can go to the New York temple to find me. Your mother's little thoughts, do you think I don't understand? With a smile on his face, Gu Yi opened the portal again, covering Marfa in it. When Marfa came to his senses again, he was already in his room. At the same time, in the courtyard where Marfa and Gu Yi had just talked, accompanied by a burst of space folding, a figure suddenly appeared in front of Gu Yi. Ancient One, you are openly betraying the sacred timeline. You will be sanctioned by the Time Variance Administration. The person who spoke was Mobius, who came to Kamartaj a few days ago. But Ancient One just laughed it off. Mobius might not know, but Ancient One was different. She had the ability to see through and travel through various multiverses before. Ancient One knew the illusion created by the Time Variance Administration. The reason why Mobius was taken in was just because at the moment, Ancient One and the Time Variance Administration had a similar purpose, to protect the multiverse. Although Ancient One did not approve of what the Time Variance Administration did, he had to admit that for now, the existence of the Time Variance Administration was more beneficial than harmful. Don't talk about these nonsense. Do you think the timeline you are in now is still under the jurisdiction of the sacred timeline? Besides, this plane has been blocked, and even the Time Variance Administration can't do anything. Why don't you come with me to see how big a hurricane this little butterfly can stir up? To be honest, I am very optimistic about this child. Taking a sip of the fragrant tea in the cup, Gu Yi still said calmly. This. Mobius wanted to say something, but he couldn't say it for a while. The Time Variance Administration is not omnipotent. To put it bluntly, it is just a group of ordinary people who have the ability to control time equipment. Although they are far superior to the current time and space in terms of technological civilization, under the predetermined fate, if a civilization is destined to be destroyed, it will be regarded as a waste by the monitoring system of the Time Variance Administration, and its existence will be ignored. During this period, even the Time and Space Variation Energy Detector cannot detect the existence of the time offender. According to what Gu Yi just said, it is obvious that the existence of the entire plane has been ignored by the monitoring system, so no matter how it is tossed, it will not have the slightest impact on the sacred timeline in the end. In other words, are we already in a timeline that is completely independent of the sacred timeline? Mobius thought to himself. Originally, Mobius only thought that there was a special time criminal who cut off their connection with the Time Variance Administration through some special means, so he asked Ancient One to help them find out the truth and find out the real culprit. In this way, Mobius and others can also return to the Time Variance Administration smoothly. But now, let me ask, a law enforcer who can no longer return to the organization, a law enforcer in a timeline ignored by the system, should continue to insist on his duties? After pondering for a long time, Mobius finally said, "Master Ancient One, I wonder if your Kamartaj is still short of apprentices? We 11 people can't always eat and live for free here." At this point, Mobius accepted his fate. What he didn't know was that it was precisely because of this decision that completely changed his fate. From then on, the Time Variance Administration lost 11 puppets, and Kamartaj gained a group of powerful wizards. In this way, he continued his unfinished mission in another way. At the same time, on the other side, the 7 members of the Rainbow Group also followed Tobey Maguire's orders in the past 2 days and began to collect protection fees from Queens and North Brooklyn. At first, many powerful people and merchants just regarded it as a joke. Until Tobey made several consecutive moves, he really wiped out a large number of evil forces in Queens and North Brooklyn and sent them to the police station. This move undoubtedly refreshed the people's perception of the Rainbow Group. If you can enjoy a safer living environment by paying a little money, why not do it? Compared with those American police who take taxpayers' money and do nothing, it is obvious that the people expect to get the protection of the Rainbow Group more. In this way, Tobey's business of collecting protection fees has finally begun to slowly get on the right track. Chapter 45 Male and Female Spiders. Office on the 5th floor of Midtown High School. Natasha's face darkened as she watched the report on Tobey Maguire's recent actions that had just been sent from S.H.I.E.L.D. "You bastard, do you really think I don't exist? How dare you collect protection money under my nose? It seems that I need to teach this kid a lesson." 2 days ago, under Carlson's arrangement, Natasha had successfully contacted Tobey and Marfa. At Natasha's request, the two came to her temporary office on time after school every day for tutoring. Of course, it was called tutoring, but in fact Natasha was just dealing with it symbolically. The most important thing was to get more information through contact with the two. Unlike Flash Thompson, Natasha, who had the status of an honorary teacher, obviously had more contact time than Flash, who had a bad relationship with Marfa and Tobey. "Teacher Romanoff, we are here." As the knock on the door sounded, Marfa and Tobey gently pushed the door of the office open, and then politely greeted Natasha. "Come in," Natasha called. When the two came closer, Natasha raised her lips slightly and looked at Tobey with a playful look. "Student Maguire, I heard that your physique is not very good and you are often bullied by your classmates. It happens that I, your teacher, have learned some fighting skills. Would you like to teach you a few tricks?" Natasha said so. On the one hand, she wanted to teach this daring boy in front of her a lesson, and on the other hand, she also wanted to see how strong Tobey Maguire was. Huh? Obviously, Tobey was frightened by Natasha's words. What a joke, with his strength of 20 to 30 tons, if he was not careful during the sparring. You know, killing the teacher is a serious crime. Teacher, I think it's better to forget it. The classmates are just joking with me. I don't mind. After thinking for a moment, Tobey said with a little embarrassment. Don't, Tobey, it's rare that Mr. Romanoff is willing to teach you a few moves. This opportunity is rare. Seeing Tobey in such an awkward situation, Marfa on the side immediately acted like a blower. If I remember correctly, Black Widow is also a spider. Black Widow versus Spider-Man. This is really interesting. Marfa thought in his heart, but he was not happy the next second. Very good, then classmate Maximov, you come too. It's just right for me to see how strong you are when you can break the leg bones of my classmates at will. Anyway, 1 is a beating, 2 is a beating. Natasha doesn't mind touching Marfa's bottom line. Pa. Tobey heard the words, and his bitter face just now showed a smile in an instant, and then he looked at Marfa beside him with a gloating look. His expression was full of unknown meanings. But Marfa's heart was already full of joy. Since the legendary system has been used to improve his physique, Marfa has made a qualitative leap in strength and physique, and the passive skill of spider induction has given him the ability to predict danger, which has greatly improved his dodge ability. The telekinesis of mental warfare has enriched Marfa's means of attack, and healing has increased Marfa's fault tolerance. It can be said that the Taoist template is almost a comprehensive improvement for Marfa. However, there is one thing that the game system cannot give Marfa, that is, combat experience and combat skills. There will certainly be a lot of battles in the legendary game, but can monsters be the same as humans? What's more, the monsters in the legendary game are affected by the system rules, and they are almost all stereotyped straight-line attacks when they fight, and the attack frequency is also based on the game design, without any change at all. If you think you are invincible because you kill 4 people in the legendary game, then it is obviously an extremely stupid idea. Long before, Marfa had the idea of learning fighting skills, and the Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff, was one of his preferred fighting teachers. Now, Marfa will naturally not miss this kind of free opportunity. As a school dedicated to cultivating students' comprehensive abilities, Zhongchang High School is naturally equipped with facilities such as boxing rings, judo venues, and Sanda training grounds. Soon the 3 of them arrived at the Sanda training ground. Not far away, students from the school's Sanda club were practicing with each other, and as always, a group of girls who were chasing male hormones were sitting around. Teacher Romanoff, do you want to wear protective gear? Toby picked up a set of Sanda-specific protective gear from the site and said to Natasha. Tisk, brat, who are you looking down on? Natasha rolled her eyes at Toby in anger, and before Toby could react, she immediately dodged and rushed forward, and then she supported herself with one hand, and her long legs clamped Toby's head, and then she hugged Toby's calves with both hands, and twisted her long legs hard, and threw Toby to the ground. Fuck. Who is that woman? Is she the new fighting teacher? Oh my god, what just happened? I just felt my eyes blur, a figure rushed out, and the boy was knocked down by the woman. Love, which club does this teacher teach? I want to change clubs. Natasha's smooth movements naturally caused a burst of exclamations and cheers from the people around. Especially after seeing Natasha's hot body and beautiful face, most of the boys present became her fans and looked at Natasha with admiration. Toby, you can use more strength. Don't worry, Teacher Romanoff is not the vase you imagined. Marfa originally came with a mentality of learning. Now Natasha simply subdued Toby with a simple scissor kick. Marfa was naturally unhappy and immediately shouted at Toby. Really? Then, teacher, I'm going to do it. I'm very strong, so be careful not to get hurt. Before Toby could finish his words, Natasha stretched out her long legs and kicked Toby in the face. What nonsense are you talking about? If you say such things, I will give you a punishment for molesting the teacher. As she said this, Natasha was also quite shocked by Toby's physical strength. If an ordinary person was locked by her move, he would have difficulty breathing and his face would have turned red. But Toby could actually talk to her without changing his expression. Just from this point, Natasha knew that she had underestimated him. Toby roared, and the muscles all over his body instantly became as hard as iron. The next second, Toby actually stood up by brute force while being entangled by Natasha. Then, Toby leaned over, grabbed Natasha's hands, and grabbed Natasha's ankles with his other hand, and threw her hard. Natasha's whole body was thrown out like a basketball. Oh my god. Who is that bastard? How dare he be so rude to my goddess? Seeing this scene, a boy who was watching around was the first to speak. Beast, don't you know how to be gentle with women? Let's go together and beat him up. A boy on the other side also shouted. If you want to go, go ahead. Didn't you see that he just dragged the goddess to her feet with brute force? And he easily threw a living person so far. You? I'm afraid he can beat the shit out of you with just one punch. Natasha fell heavily to the ground, coughed twice, climbed up, and patted the dust off her body. I was careless. I didn't expect his strength to be so strong. Just by throwing me out easily, I can tell that he must be at least 2 tons. Not bad, he's a good candidate. I'll observe him a little more and he should be able to join S.H.I.E.L.D. Thinking this in her mind, Natasha immediately rushed towards Toby again. 2 seconds later. Bang! Toby was pressed to the ground by Natasha's swift attack again. Such a frontal hard fighting battle is really a test of strength, skills and combat experience. Although the serum injected by Natasha when she was young was more to slow down aging, it also increased her strength to a certain extent. Although she was far inferior to Toby, Natasha could always dodge Toby's attack at an extremely tricky angle, and then attack Toby's joints and press him to the ground. Pa pa pa. Warm applause continued to ring out, including Marfa and Toby. No one was not impressed by Natasha's superb fighting skills. As expected of Natasha, she is worthy of the title of Black Widow for being able to do this. Marfa thought to herself. And Toby also sincerely admired this female teacher who suddenly came to help him with his studies. Although he did not use his spider sense ability just now, and even deliberately controlled his strength, and did not use his ability to spin silk. But being able to defeat him under such circumstances was enough to show that this woman was extraordinary. It was at this moment that Toby began to doubt Natasha's identity. After all, with such skills, it would be too unreasonable if she was just an ordinary teacher. Chapter 46, Flush is defeated. Soon, the sparring between Toby, Marfa and Natasha became a hot topic in Central City High School. On the campus website, the scene of the three-person fight was even on the headlines. For a time, whether it was Natasha, the teacher, or Marfa and Toby, the two students who were already very popular, they all became synonymous with the traffic of Central City High School. In short, the three of them became popular. Unlike others who were just watching the fun, Flash Thompson saw some clues in it. As one of the few rich kids in Central City High School, a public high school, Flash has seen some things. Natasha's fierce, life-threatening and smooth fighting style refreshed Flash's cognition even for Flash, who was used to seeing black boxing matches. Since he had some doubts, Flash was of course particularly concerned, especially since it involved Marfa, who was his special object of attention. After relying on the offensive of money and opening up layers of relationships, Flash finally got the employment file about Natasha. After just a simple glance, Flash fiercely rolled up the one-page file into a ball and threw it on the ground. Except for gender and name, this file is completely blank, even age. Flash lit a cigarette and took 2 puffs, and his mind was also quickly sorting out the information he had obtained. Natasha Romanoff, female, specially appointed honorary teacher of Zhongchang High School, offices on the 5th floor of the teaching building of Zhongchang High School. Except for teaching Toby and Marfa, she does not participate in any other teaching work. Everything, no matter how you look at it, is full of weirdness and unreasonableness. Could this Natasha be sent by the forces behind the Maximov family to protect Marfa? Gradually, Flash figured it out. Only this explanation can rationalize Natasha's abnormal behavior. Thinking of this, Flash couldn't help but be ecstatic. Then, it would not be difficult to find out the background behind Marfa by using Natasha as a breakthrough point. That morning, Flash, as usual, sat in a wheelchair and was escorted by bodyguards to the door of Natasha's office. Knock, knock, knock. There was a knock on the door. Come in. Natasha's somewhat lazy voice came from inside the room. It was obvious that the teaching work in the past few days was really boring for her, who was used to licking blood on the edge of a knife. Hello, Mr. Romanoff. I am a student of Class 11, Grade 1, Flush Thompson. Flush introduced himself. Natasha, who was half lying on the sofa, just glanced at Flush and continued to close her eyes to rest. If you have something to say, just say it. If you don't have anything to say, just leave. Natasha said indifferently. This. Seeing Natasha's arrogant expression, Flush's heart immediately surged with anger, and at the same time, he became more certain of his guess. If the other party was really a serious teacher, how could he act like this? After sorting out his emotions, Flash once again showed a well-behaved look. It's like this. I heard that Mr. Romanoff is quite accomplished in fighting skills. I would like to ask Mr. Romanoff to teach me a thing or two in his spare time. If possible, I am willing to hire Mr. Romanoff as my private teacher. The hourly salary is $30,000. I wonder what Mr. Romanoff thinks. After saying that, Flash immediately looked at Natasha on the sofa with hope, and a small arc appeared at the corner of his mouth. Humph, arrogant woman, to put it bluntly, you are just a bodyguard. I don't believe that such treatment can't impress you. Flash thought secretly in his heart. You know, in the United States, the hourly salary of a special agent level bodyguard is only about $2,000. Flash directly called $30,000, which is 15 times that of a special agent level bodyguard. This can be said to be a very generous treatment. If it wasn't for digging out the secrets behind Marfa, Flash wouldn't have offered such a high price. You know, the bodyguard standing behind him now only earns $1,500 a day. Please go back. I just want to be an ordinary gardener and cultivate a few flowers with potential. Look at you, you can't even stand up. What are you talking about learning fighting? Natasha's words can be said to be a direct hit on Flash's heart. What's more, listen to this, is this human talk? An ordinary gardener? Cultivating flowers? If you really just want to be a teacher, why only teach Marfa and Toby? Flash didn't believe even a punctuation mark in Natasha's answer. Teacher Romanoff, the price is negotiable. 50,000 per hour. No, 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 80,000 per hour, what do you think? Flash gritted his teeth and said, he had already made up his mind in his heart that when he got Marfa's secrets, he must teach this arrogant woman a little color. Go away. Natasha said only one word, then moved her body and made a sleeping gesture. You. Flush wanted to say something, but he didn't know where to start. It seems that he still underestimated Marfa. He didn't expect that a mere bodyguard of the power behind him would have such quality. It's a pity that I can't use him. It seems that the breakthrough still needs to be placed on Toby. That night, Toby just got out of school and walked out of the school gate when he was stopped by two maids. Is it Mr. McGuire? My young master wants to have dinner with you. Please do me the honor of coming with us. These 2 days, Toby had to deal with Natasha's iron fist of love while busy cleaning up the black forces in Queens and North Brooklyn. He was just 1 minute short of using it, so how could he have time to keep an appointment for dinner? What's more, the Rainbow Group was quite capable. The protection fees collected in the past 2 days not only solved Toby's tight budget, but Toby also gave part of the money to Aunt May on the grounds of scholarships, which greatly improved the lives of his Uncle Ben's family. Toby is now in a period of rapid career growth, so how can he waste time for a mere meal? Mr. McGuire, my young master said that he mainly wants to talk to you about Ms. Mary Jane. Please give me some face. The maid waved and beckoned the car that had been waiting for a long time, and respectfully made a gesture of invitation to Toby. Mary Jane. Hearing this, Toby couldn't help but frown slightly, thinking that the great cause of collecting protection fees would not be a problem in a short time. What's more, with his current ability, there's nothing to worry about. So, with curiosity, he got in the car. The car was not driving too fast, after all, the traffic conditions in New York were there. After driving all the way, about half an hour later, it stopped at the door of a big hotel. Thompson Hotel Chain. Seeing the big words hanging on the hotel wall, Toby had already guessed who invited him here. No wonder, with such a grand ceremony, and saying it's related to Mary Jane, who else could it be but him? Toby thought secretly after getting out of the car. He turned around and left immediately. Toby didn't want to have too much interaction with this person who had bullied him before. Please stay. Since you are here, why don't you go up and sit down, so that I can apologize to you solemnly. Chapter 47, Finding Clues. In the hotel room, Flush's move was as generous as ever. On the table, seafood, red wine, wagyu, truffles, everything was available. And beside Toby and Flush, there were two waitresses dressed in revealing clothes, providing attentive service for the two. Toby only had Mary Jane in his heart, so for these beautiful women who came to his door, Toby still frowned slightly and kept pushing them around, which was a perfect interpretation of Liu Xiaohu. Flush was more open. He was holding a knife and fork on the table, constantly cutting the Burke sausage on the plate, and under the table, there was a waitress who looked pretty good, also eating sausage. Toby, can I call you that? Don't be polite, just treat it as your own home. Flush pointed to the food on the table and the waitress standing next to Toby and said, Toby, so you are like this at home. Toby thought secretly in his heart. Tell me, what do you want me to do? I don't remember that we were so close. Toby said coldly. Papa. Flash clapped his hands, and a servant came to Toby and handed him a check for $2 million. Alice. Flash sighed deeply. Do you know why I made it so difficult for you and Marfa before? Toby took a look at the check in front of him and was slightly moved. Fortunately, reason and his friendship with Marfa quickly prevailed, and he did not put the check in his pocket. On the contrary, Toby just pushed the check aside, but when he looked at Flash again, his eyes were no longer as cold as before. I lost my mother when I was young, and my father was always busy with work. When I was a child, I was often alone. I was so envious of children of the same age playing with their friends and families. As I grew up, many so-called friends appeared around me, but they were all just after my money. In their eyes, I saw greed, jealousy, and contempt hidden deep inside. I also longed to have even one real friend like you. While speaking, Flush continued to enjoy the pleasure from under the table. Although the happy expression on his face was very out of place, Toby, who had a similar experience, felt the same way. Alice, he is also a poor man. I also lost my parents when I was young and could only live in Uncle Ben's house. No matter where I went, I was bullied. Until I met Marfa, I never had a real friend. Now Flush seems to not care much about these things. I think he has become numb. Toby thought secretly in his heart. Later, I understood that everyone was just after my family's money, so why not make my life easier and happier? So, I transferred my pain to bullying others. At the same time, because I was generous, more and more people gathered around me. Although I couldn't feel their sincerity, I was no longer as lonely as before. Flush slowly told his story, and Toby simply put down his knife and fork and listened quietly. Until that day, Marfa came. Seeing that you all gathered around him, I was jealous and resentful, so I'm really sorry. Flush apologized with a sincere expression. Now my leg is broken, maybe this is God's punishment for me. After listening to Flush's story, Toby was a little moved, and deep in his heart, he had completely forgiven this classmate who had sent people to hurt him. Toby, someone like me doesn't deserve love or friendship, so I hope you can take good care of Mary Jane for me. I hope you can give her real love, don't deny it in a hurry. I see your love for her in your eyes, I believe you can do it. This is my last request, okay? Flush's tone was so sincere that Toby felt embarrassed to snatch Mary Jane from him. No, Flush, if you lack friends, I can be your friend. As long as you don't bully others like before. But as for Mary Jane, I will snatch her from you openly, and we can have a fair competition between friends. She is not a tool, I don't need you to give her to me, and you have no right to give her to me. Toby argued. Haha, ha 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 ha, ha 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 ha. Competition? What can I use to compete with you? You are the favorite student of Mr. Romanoff, and you have a strong physique. And I am just a disabled person with a broken leg. Even if I recover in the future, I will never be the same as before. Do you think this is fair? Flash roared like crazy. No, you can be as strong as me, as long as you. Toby almost revealed his secret in a moment of desperation, but fortunately he reacted in time and forcibly interrupted his words. All of this fell into Flash's eyes without omission. Really? There is a reason why he is so strong. As early as before, after witnessing the battle between Toby and Natasha, Flash noticed something was wrong. Before, Tobey Maguire was just a weak scholar with glasses, but after not seeing each other for a few days, the other party was able to fight a strong man like Natasha for a few moves, and even far surpassed Natasha in strength. And Marfa, who is with Toby, also had a similar situation. He was just a student, but he could not lose in the contest with a fighting master. Putting the two together, Flash could easily guess that Toby's change must be due to some kind of help from Marfa. And this help is likely related to the power behind Marfa. Flash set up this trap today to get the secrets of Toby and Marfa, but he didn't expect that when success was within reach, Toby reacted in time, causing all the efforts to fail. How? You just said you wanted to compete with me fairly and be friends with me. It turns out that everything was just a lie. Go away, Mary Jane will be yours from now on. Seeing that his plan failed, Flash simply burned his boats. Rather than let Toby be wary of him, he might as well take a gamble. No, Flush, I keep my word. As long as you stop bullying people, I am willing to be your friend and compete with you for Mary Jane. However, the way I become stronger is very dangerous. If it weren't for Marfa, I might have died. As your friend, I don't want you to take risks. After saying that, Toby didn't plan to stay any longer. He picked up the clothes on the side and turned around and left. Flush's eyes became fierce after Toby left. It's really related to Marfa. That is to say, the Maximoff family has mastered some secret that makes people stronger. So the Kingpin gang is either trying to win over their family or is afraid of the forces that want to win over their family. Flush's heart is more inclined to the latter. After all, judging from Natasha's performance, she is very likely a member of the force that the Kingpin gang is afraid of. The result is already very clear. The key to breaking the deadlock is how Toby gets his power. Butler. Flush kicked away the waitress who was still eating sausages under the table and said, "Yes, sir. I want you to investigate at all costs all of Tobey Maguire's movements after my leg was broken by Marfa Maximoff that day. Where did he go? Who did he meet? What did he eat? And also find a way to investigate the Rainbow Band that has been active in Queens recently. I suspect that the masked man behind them is Tobey Maguire." "Okay, sir." Seeing the butler taking the order and leaving, Flash immediately pushed another waitress under the table and asked him to continue working. Chapter 48 Sitwell's Invitation. The sky gradually darkened, and the night once again enveloped the metropolis of New York, which is full of decadence and debauchery. "Hey, Marfa, are you out to buy wine for your old man again?" A brown-haired boy who was a little taller than Marfa came up to greet him. "Ah, Grant, I wonder who it is," Marfa said with a smile. The man was his neighbor Grant Guston. Because Grant and Pietro both like running, they have become close friends who can talk about anything during this period of time. "I can't help it. Dad has been under too much pressure at work recently and always likes to drink. What about you? You come out so late at night. Do you have the habit of running at night? Our North Brooklyn is not safe at night." "Ha ha ha, Marfa, Pietro said you were a nerd before, but I didn't believe it. Now I really believe it. You say, you are so young? Is it interesting to study all day? Why don't you read more news when you have time?" Grant patted Marfa on the shoulder and said with a hint of sarcasm. "News?" Marfa asked curiously. "Yes, I heard that a superhero named Skynet has recently appeared in our area. He claims to be a net to fix the injustices in the world and collect protection fees from all over the world, but it has caused a lot of noise." Marfa's eyelids twitched slightly when she heard this. Skynet. It seems that Toby has really been fooled by himself. He even collects protection fees from all over the world. This guy is unique. Marfa thought secretly in his heart. Skynet? I haven't heard of it. Tell me about it. Marfa said. Speaking of Skynet, he has 7 generals under him, called red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and purple. Recently, he has been collecting protection fees from door to door in Queens and our northern Brooklyn. But, unlike the gangsters in the past, they take the money seriously and do practical things. Recently, criminals and gangsters are sent to the police station by Skynet every day. I heard that Gwen said that Officer Stacy is ready to put Skynet on the wanted list. The police are paying special attention to Skynet. Grant said. Didn't you just say that Skynet is fighting criminals? Why are the police wanted for him? Marfa asked hurriedly. It was about Toby, so he couldn't help but pay attention. Who said it wasn't? If it weren't for Skynet, I wouldn't dare to go out alone at night. The local hooligans have been restrained a lot because of Skynet. If you ask me, I would rather give the money to Skynet than to support those policemen who eat nothing. Look at what they think of our North Brooklyn. Grant said indignantly. Grant has always had a grudge against the New York police. It is said that when he was young, his family was robbed and his mother was killed. The police investigation was fruitless, and finally his father was arrested and charged with intentional homicide. He is still in prison. I'll tell you a secret, Skynet is my idol. I'm thinking about going out for a walk at night, maybe I can see Skynet's heroic figure. I think he must be a tall, mighty, upright and strong man. As he spoke, Grant immediately showed a fanatical expression of a little fan. Okay, I won't talk to you anymore. Go buy some wine for your old man. I'm going to see my hero. As soon as the voice fell, Grant immediately took another step and went into the alley. This guy is really careless. If something happens and Toby doesn't come to rescue you in time, you will be in trouble. Marfa whispered. Just to be honest, Toby is really doing a good job. It's only been a few days, and he's doing it well. He's a good material for a gangster. Thinking this in his heart, the next moment, Marfa's hair stood up instantly, and a strong sense of crisis instantly surged into his heart. He subconsciously rolled over and dodged a bullet by a hair's breadth. Looking back at the place where he was standing just now, he saw a bullet hole the size of a thumb suddenly appeared on the ground. Damn it, which bastard dared to attack me? Marfa shouted. Pa. Well done. A crisp applause came from the shadows behind him, and then a bald, short and fat man walked out of the shadows with a smile on his face. When he saw the other person's appearance clearly, Marfa frowned instantly. It seemed that he had seen this look before. Marfa Maximov, the son of Django and Natalia, is originally from Sokovia. He has the ability to heal and instantly transfer enemies, as well as the ability to control objects remotely. He is powerful and has amazing defense. The shield's danger level rating, B. The man said slowly. Toby Maguire, a New Yorker, awakened his superpowers shortly after coming into contact with Marfa Maximov. Nickname, Skynet. He has the ability to launch white silk threads, white silk nets, and climb walls. His strength and agility are quite amazing. SHIELD's danger level rating, A. After reading this, the bald man calmly put down the gun in his hand and walked towards Marfa. Stop right there. Who are you? "You'd better not move, otherwise I won't guarantee your life safety," Marfa warned. But the next moment, dozens of red light spots shot out from all directions and landed on Marfa's head. Obviously, these are the sights of the guns. It can be imagined that whenever Marfa moves, these guns will immediately pull the trigger. SHIELD. Level 7 Agent, Sitwell, is under the order of Alexander Pierce, Minister of the United Nations Security Council, to invite you to join SHIELD. Sitwell. At this moment, the image of the bald fat man in front of him overlapped with a person in Marfa's mind. Isn't this one of the members planted by Hydra and S.H.I.E.L.D.? Remember that he was caught by Captain America in the plot of Captain America 2. In just a moment, countless thoughts and ideas emerged in Marfa's mind. No, my brain is not enough. Thinking of this, Marfa immediately sank his mind into the sea of consciousness, and the whole person came to the legendary world again. The time here is almost stagnant for the outside world. So Marfa always leaves half an hour of game time to deal with emergencies. Regardless of whether the game points are wasted, Marfa immediately sat on the ground and began to sort out his thoughts. Just now Sitwell said that he invited himself to join S.H.I.E.L.D. on behalf of Alexander Pierce. Previously, Natasha, the Black Widow of S.H.I.E.L.D., had contacted him. The force behind her is undoubtedly the upright S.H.I.E.L.D. headed by Nick Fury. There is no reason why Sitwell, who also has the identity of a level 7 agent and knows his actions well, doesn't know this. In other words, on the surface, Sitwell invited himself to join S.H.I.E.L.D., but in fact, he invited himself to join the Hydra forces within S.H.I.E.L.D., that is, the S.H.I.E.L.D. In the MCU plot, when it came to the second stage of Captain America, the Hydra was exposed. Because of this, it was finally overturned by the superior Nick Fury, Captain America, Black Widow and Falcon. It almost never appeared again in the subsequent plots. In other words, if I agree to join the S.H.I.E.L.D., then with the plot of Captain America 2 as the dividing line, after that, I will become the enemy of the entire Avengers. Before that, Alexander Pierce, the former director of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the current head of the United Nations Security Council, the Hydra, can obviously give me more resources. Even the infinite gems are included. In comparison, joining the S.H.I.E.L.D. is not a bad thing. You can please both sides in the early stage, and in the later stage, as long as you don't do too much in advance, you can also whitewash it. Apart from anything else, isn't that how Wanda and Pietro were whitewashed in the original plot? Moreover, if he joined S.H.I.E.L.D. at Natasha's invitation, it would only be the icing on the cake for the overall plot, and the system's rewards would certainly not be too generous. If he joined S.H.I.E.L.D. at Sitwell's invitation, he would have more room for maneuver. This deal was a win-win no matter how you calculated it. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49 Black and White. The spiritual consciousness exited the legendary world, and Marfa returned to the real world. Although 10 minutes had passed in the game, it was only a moment in reality. So, Agent Sitwell, as a person who is recruited, I am very curious, is this how you invite members? Now that he had sorted out his thoughts, Marfa was naturally very calm in his response. Ha, interesting. Let me tell you that we have always been open-hearted to our friends, but if it is an enemy, we will never tolerate it. I just don't know, are you a friend or an enemy? Sitwell said coldly. It should be you who is interesting, Agent Sitwell. You didn't ask me about my willingness or tell me the relevant information of the organization at the beginning, and you just rashly pointed the gun at me. Even if I wanted to agree, I couldn't say it, right? Marfa had already made up his mind to join the Snake Shield, but definitely not in the forced way it is now. As soon as the voice fell, Marfa rushed forward suddenly, and appeared in front of Sitwell with a trail of after images behind him. The action was so fast that if the people pointing guns at him were not specially trained agents, they would not even be able to catch his figure. Pa. With a series of gunshots, countless bullets poured out like a violent storm, covering Marfa in just a moment. With the ability of spider sense to predict danger, Marfa rolled, retreated, or fell to the ground, and perfectly avoided all the bullets. However, at this moment, an arrow fell on the place where Marfa was about to land, almost hitting Marfa. Then, a flying knife came with a sound of breaking through the air, and shot towards the back of Marfa's head. Duong. With a sound of metal clashing, The flying knife fell directly to the ground as if it hit an invisible barrier. Marfa looked fierce, turned his head suddenly, and stared at the direction where the flying knife was shot. His right hand grabbed out of thin air. Mental power warfare. All things are attracted by the sky. The next second, a sturdy figure was pulled out of the shadows. The man was wearing combat uniforms, with several throwing knives hanging around his waist, a crossbow in one hand and a dagger in the other. The aura of killing permeated from his body, like a human weapon, which was chilling. There is no doubt that this person is one of Captain America's old enemies, Crossbones, Brock Rumlow. As the members with the highest individual combat effectiveness in Hydra's shield, Brock Rumlow and Sitwell can be said to be Alexander Pierce's right-hand man. The fact that these two came together to invite Marfa to join the group is enough to show that Alexander Pierce attaches great importance to Marfa. Is Marfa's combat effectiveness really high enough to make Hydra afraid? Not really. What Alexander Pierce really cares about is Toby. After a detailed investigation, the information Pierce has shows that Toby's ability is likely to be obtained from Marfa. Thinking of the intelligence from the Sokovia branch of Hydra not long ago, and the intelligence about Natalia slaughtering the Kingpin gang members in Brooklyn Bridge Park, Alexander Pierce speculated that the source of superpowers for everyone, including Toby and Natalia, was Marfa. In this way, Marfa's value was raised to a very important level. Of course, Alexander Pierce did not think that all this was a coincidence, but so what? It is an indisputable fact that Marfa has mastered supernatural powers. Even if Toby's situation cannot be replicated, it is not a bad thing for Hydra to recruit one more superpower. What's more, Marfa is just a child, and Pierce believes that the child's thoughts and beliefs are extremely malleable. Compared with Natalia, who already has a complete sense of right and wrong, Pierce is more optimistic about Marfa's potential. 2 telekinesis powers were launched, and Marfa strangled Sitwell and Crossbones' necks respectively. Agent Sitwell, I just said that no matter what organization you are, at least let me know your relevant information. I didn't refuse, but you are in a hurry to do it. Is this how you do things in S.H.I.E.L.D.? I think we may need to have a good talk. Controlling telekinesis, Marfa slowly released the 2 people and said calmly, as if the action just now was just a trivial matter to him. This. Sitwell hesitated a little, and his evaluation of Marfa's danger level in his heart could not help but rise from B to A. Okay, you all retreat. Brock, you come with me. I think we may have a delicious midnight snack. Sitwell said loudly. Wait, my old man is still waiting for me to buy wine. Let your men buy a stack of beer and ask Snowflake to brave the world. My old man only drinks that. By the way, help me report safety. I don't need to teach you this. Marfa said. Do as he says. Sitwell pointed to an agent hiding in the dark and said. At the same time. On the other side of Queens, Toby, who was wearing a tight black mask with white netting, was also targeted. But unlike Marfa, there was only one person. And he was an old acquaintance of Toby. Just now, Toby caught another group of criminals who were selling banned drugs, and tied them up and sent them to the nearest police station after the Iron Fist of Love. However, what Toby didn't expect was that he was targeted just after he walked a few hundred meters. Toby could have escaped by swinging on the spider silk, but in order to find out the other party's identity and see if there was a big fish, Toby still took the other party to a dark alley. Come out, you have followed me for 2 kilometers, aren't you tired? Toby said coldly. If this is how you talk to the teacher, I think I am very interested in having a good chat with Ben McGuire. Natasha walked out of the shadows and said with a hint of sarcasm. I don't know what you are talking about. Toby left a word and turned around to leave. Toby Maguire, do you really think I dare not do this? Natasha stopped pretending and simply came clean. After these few days of contact, Natasha knew a thing or two about Toby and Marfa. Toby was a shy boy on the surface, but in fact he was a great character with justice in his heart but also ambitious. He spun silk, climbed walls, had super strength, super agility, and the ability to predict danger. Natasha, who often fought with Toby and had followed Toby for a long time, had a thorough understanding of Toby. Although Natasha felt that there was something wrong with collecting protection fees, overall, it also met the minimum standard for recruiting him into SHIELD. Ha ha ha. Mr. Romanoff, it's you. Toby took off his mask and laughed. The night is really nice today, I wish you a good dream, bye, bye. After that, Toby turned around and wanted to leave. Unexpectedly, Natasha grabbed his neck. Come with me, if you don't want me to visit your home. Chapter 50 Joining SHIELD. Natasha's sudden appearance meant that Grant would not be able to see his idol, Skynet, tonight. In a private room of a coffee shop in Queens, Natasha and Toby sat opposite each other, with a thick stack of documents quietly placed on the table. "Come on, sign this employment agreement." Picking up the top document, Natasha threw it directly in front of Toby. National Strategy, Defense Attack, and Logistics Support Bureau. Seeing the long row of characters on the cover of the reader, Toby's mouth twitched. "Are you kidding? What the hell is this?" Toby thought secretly in his heart, but he started to act cute. "Teacher Romanoff, I'm just a child." Puff. Natasha smiled, and that beautiful smile was as charming as a black rose. She casually pulled out another document and spread it out in front of Toby. "Toby Maguire. Do you know what your parents do?" Natasha asked with a smile. Toby shook his head to indicate that he didn't know. The words father and mother were already unfamiliar to Toby. When he was very young, Toby had been sent to Ben Maguire's home for foster care. In Toby's mind, Ben Maguire and May Maguire were his parents. "Take a look at this again," Natasha said as she took out two more documents and spread them out in front of Toby. Charlie Maguire, CIA agent, number 89,757. Mary Maguire, CIA data analyst, number 9,527. Cause of death: due to the disclosure of identity during the mission, he was retaliated by unknown forces and the plane crashed. Toby quickly scanned the two documents and sorted out the key information. How is it possible? Toby's first reaction was unbelievable. His parents were actually members of the CIA, and he had lived for more than 10 years without knowing anything. Even Uncle Ben had never told him this. Your parents entrusted you to Ben Maguire's family to protect you. What's funny is that the children of two pillars of the country have now become gang leaders and collected protection fees. Natasha looked at Toby meaningfully and said, Let me tell you another interesting thing. When I was looking up your relevant information, I found that there was a student named Andrew Garfield in the senior year of Central City High School. His father was also Charlie and his mother was also Mary. Coincidentally, he also lost both his parents like you and is currently boarding at his uncle's house. And his uncle and aunt, Ben? May? Toby asked in disbelief. Smart, very interesting, isn't it? Natasha said. Let's not talk nonsense, let me show you my cards. I am Natasha Romanoff, an agent of the Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency. Affiliated to the United Nations Security Council, our department is mainly responsible for handling various strange events, of course, including the gang leader named Skynet. Natasha said. I'm not a gang leader. Look at the public security in Queens and North Brooklyn. Although I collected protection money, I also did real things for the people. Isn't this more popular than civil servants like you who take taxpayers' money and do nothing all day? Toby retorted righteously. Collecting protection money is a noble cause for Toby, who is now addicted. It is an ideal that he does not allow others to tarnish, even Natasha, his teacher who taught him fighting. Okay, then let's talk about home visits. Natasha said meaningfully. This. It must be said that Natasha's words hit Toby's soft spot. On one side is the career and ideal, and on the other side are Ben and May, who are regarded as parents. For a moment, Toby was a little overwhelmed. You have to know that a person with superpowers like you will inevitably cause fear among many forces. You have just emerged and may not have noticed it yet, but your actions have already caused the covetousness of many forces, including the police and the underworld. In other words, you have touched their jobs. Do you think you can withstand the pressure from the police and the gangs? Well, let's take a step back and say that even if you can. Have you considered Ben and May? What if your identity is exposed and brings disaster to them? What are you going to do? Fight against the forces of the entire New York or even the entire United States by yourself? Can you do it? Natasha did not continue to be as warm as before. She stood up and pointed at Toby and scolded him. This. Toby wanted to explain, but was interrupted by Natasha again. Are you trying to say that you still have Marfa? As soon as the voice fell, Toby suddenly widened his eyes and looked at the other party with a slightly horrified look. You think we are the national strategy? Damn it, I told you, the name should have been changed a long time ago. Natasha complained in her heart. Do you really think our department is just a place to eat and work as you said? Natasha said. Then why don't you go to Marfa? He is much better than me. Since the other party already knew everything, Toby simply gave up. Ha ha ha. Natasha laughed out loud. That's why I said you are not responsible enough, you push things to others. In the end, putting aside your abilities, you are still the cowardly Toby a month ago. Marfa is different from you, his parents are. As if she realized that she had said too much, Natasha immediately took a sip of coffee. Their family is protected by official departments. What can you compare with Marfa? Natasha said coldly. The atmosphere was silent for a long time, and Toby stared at the thick stack of information about himself in front of him in a daze. Then, what should I do? I don't want to give up my dream, nor do I want my uncle and his men to be in danger. Toby whispered. Join the Strategic National Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency. Become one of us, and your family will be protected by agents 24 hours a day. Natasha said in a persuasive manner. But I'm just... Enough. You should take responsibility. Don't worry, you are just an extra staff member. If there is no particularly important task, we will not bother you. How about it? Okay, we will join the Strategic National Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency, but you have to tell me, what do you mean by my father just now? As soon as the voice fell, a silver-haired man pushed the door open and stared at Natasha with a serious face. Ah. Marfa, when did you come? Toby asked in surprise. And Natasha's face was even darker. With her many years of experience and perception as an agent, she didn't even notice that there was someone outside the door. This Marfa is getting more and more mysterious. After thinking for a long time, Natasha walked out of the door of the private room, looked around, and then lowered her voice and said, You have heard of District 13, a special organization dedicated to studying supernatural life and alien civilization. Your father, Django Maximov, is working for their boss. And, according to the latest intelligence, he is very optimistic about Django Maximov. Natasha said solemnly. Humph, that old man is really extraordinary. Thinking of the ragged, unkempt, but sharp-eyed antique shop owner she saw when she went to deliver food to her father before, Marfa couldn't help but show an expression of as expected. The Maximov family has District 13 behind them, and S.H.I.E.L.D. has given Kingpin a heads-up in advance. Under the double protection, as long as the Maximov family does not commit suicide, naturally no force will dare to move against them. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.